Chapter 1913. Date: October 11th. Xinyan was only wearing a tank top under her camouflage fatigue. It was only natural for her to feel cold, and so she subconsciously searched for warmth, burrowing into Lin Yi's arms. It was very warm here. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at the sleeping Wang Xinyan in his arms out of nowhere. Lin Yi hadn't slept at all. He'd closed his eyes to train in the Jade Space. Ever since he'd learned the secrets of the Jade Space, Lin Yi hadn't slept at all. His perception of the outside world was still very strong, and so when Xinyan ran into his arms, Lin Yi sensed it immediately. Lin Yi shook his head and came out of the Jade Space. He wanted to push Xinyan away, but he didn't want to let her go. Hugging Xinyan gave him a peace of mind, and Lin Yi couldn't help but fall into a trance as he took in the faint scent of Xinyan's body. The scent made Lin Yi very comfortable, and so Lin Yi couldn't help but sniff a few more times. All of a sudden he felt a heat in his abdomen, and Lin Yi jumped in fright. Did he have some sort of feelings for Xinyan? If that were the case, it'd be very awkward if Xinyan found out. At that thought, Lin Yi hurriedly channeled the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, trying to dispel the fire in his body. But as soon as Lin Yi's qi touched the fire in his abdomen, Lin Yi was confused. This wasn't that kind of fire. Lin Yi could tell if it was because of him, but if that wasn't the case, then could this heat be because of Xinyan's fragrance? But no matter what the reason was, Lin Yi didn't dare to delay, and had already started to use his pure qi to dissolve that ball of fire. But in the next moment, Lin Yi was surprised to find that after the ball of fire was dissolved, it seemed to have become pure qi that filled his body, and his strength was also continuously increasing. After the ball of fire was dissolved, Lin Yi's strength actually had an obvious increase. Although he still hadn't reached the barrier of Earth-class early phase peak in Chapter 1925, he was getting closer and closer to that barrier. Lin Yi was very puzzled. Why was his strength increasing? Moreover, this speed was clearly faster than just channeling the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. It wasn't by much, but it was fast. Lin Yi could feel it. Perhaps it really was because of the fragrance on Xinyan's body? Lin Yi frowned, secretly surprised. But since he found such a good opportunity, he didn't want to waste it. It wasn't easy to get a chance to share a bed with Xinyan. Of course he'd want to absorb more of this fragrance to train. Otherwise, Xinyan might not agree to it when he got back to school. Lin Yi didn't sleep that night, and his body kept channeling the art of dragon mastery until dawn. Xinyan was a bit cold in the middle of the night, and naturally went to find warmth. She opened her eyes in the morning to find herself in Lin Yi's arms. She was a bit surprised, but then she saw that Lin Yi wasn't hugging her, but she was hugging Lin. Xinyan was relieved, but also embarrassed. Lin Yi didn't do anything to her, but she threw herself into his arms. How shameless! If Lin Yi saw this, what would Lin Yi think? With that thought, Xinyan tried to get out of Lin Yi's arms. She sneaked a glance at Lin Yi, and realized that Lin Yi's eyes were closed. She quickly moved her body inwards, but Lin Yi felt it. Lin Yi hadn't slept at all. He'd been training the whole time, and so he spoke subconsciously. "Xinyan, you're awake?" Xinyan didn't expect Lin Yi to wake up earlier than her. Was Lin Yi pretending to be asleep with his eyes closed? This guy was trying to take advantage of her when he was awake. Xinyan suddenly remembered that if Lin Yi wanted to take advantage of her, he could have just hugged her. Why did he have to do this? Xinyan understood after a bit of thought. Lin Yi probably didn't want to disturb her, seeing that she was sleeping soundly. Even so, Xinyan still felt embarrassed. "I was a bit cold last night." "It's fine, I don't mind being a heater." Lin Yi really didn't mind. Lin Yi had a good impression of Xinyan in the first place, and now that Xinyan's scent was good for his training, Lin Yi didn't mind at all. In fact, he liked it. "I'm up." Xinyan quickly got out of bed, seeing that the conversation was getting more and more intimate. In fact, there were a lot of students who woke up at this time, but it was still early. There was still some time before 6, so they wanted to rest a bit more. Xinyan went to the washroom to wash her face, and Lin Yi got up as well. Bai Weiduo saw that someone was up, and he, as the class monitor, couldn't stay in bed. But since Lin Yi and Xinyan were the first to wake up, Bai Weiduo didn't find it embarrassing at all. Woo woo woo. A loud wake-up call sounded. It was 5:50, And they were ready. All the students in the barracks ran out and lined up in front of the barracks. Chen Yutian showed up at 6 sharp, and the day's training began. The training for the first 3 days was simple. It was what they had practiced in middle and high school, marching, changing lines, and so on. Although it was tiring, they could still persist. No more unpleasantness happened in the cafeteria. With Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganha as an example, no one dared to cause any more trouble. As for how Chen Yutian handled the two, other than Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganha who were a little dissatisfied, the others didn't think that Chen Yutian was unfair. Although Lin Yi was a little harsh, he was still standing up for his classmate. In everyone's eyes, it was an act of brotherhood. Since they weren't punished, it meant that Chen Yutian was an open-minded instructor. In fact, if it weren't for Lin Yi, Chen Yutian would have punished them as well. But since it was related to Lin Yi, he was biased. What made Lin Yi disappointed was that he didn't see Meng Yao and Yushu in the cafeteria. Book C Pavilion. This wasn't the only cafeteria. Perhaps the students from the economics faculty were sent to other cafeterias, and they didn't meet. This kind of intense training was nothing to Lin Yi. What made Lin Yi the happiest was sleeping with Wang Xinyan every night. It wasn't that Lin Yi was lustful, but the fragrance on Wang Xinyan's body could speed up Lin Yi's training. 3 days. 3 days of training was equivalent to half a month of training for Lin Yi. Chapter 1914. Although Lin Yi's mastery of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery was partly due to this, Wang Xinyan's scent played an important role. Although Wang Xinyan would hug Lin Yi every morning, it was a little awkward, but as time went by, the awkwardness faded away. Now, Wang Xinyan wasn't as shy as before because Lin Yi didn't take advantage of her, and she didn't do it on purpose. There was no need for the two of them to be awkward. Just like what Lin Yi said, the two of them were good friends. From the 4th day onwards, it was military boxing. Military boxing. Most of the students had heard of this name, but they had never practiced it. After all, there were Muay Thai, Sanda, Taekwondo, and even Tai Chi in the martial arts training classes, but there were very few that taught military boxing. They were curious about this boxing technique that everyone in the military practiced. Only Yu Coiling Tiger had a disdainful smile on his face. Military boxing, although it sounds ordinary, is a boxing technique that every soldier in the army knows. Many people think that it's only for strengthening their bodies. Chen Yutian paused for a moment before continuing. Military boxing can strengthen your body, but it's also a very practical fighting style. It's very effective when you're fighting with your enemies in close combat. Not to mention normal soldiers, even the special forces might use military boxing when fighting against enemies. So, if you practice military boxing well, it will guarantee your safety in the future. If you can use military boxing well when you meet an enemy, you won't have a problem protecting yourself, even if you can't kill the bad guys. These words made the students present look forward to it. Yes, if they could learn this fist technique well, wouldn't they not be taken advantage of by the bad guys when they encountered danger in the future? Even Lin Yi nodded in agreement. Military boxing was a set of martial arts that had been tempered by countless elite soldiers. Chen Yutian wasn't exaggerating at all. Ha-dash! At this moment, someone laughed untimely as if he was very disdainful of Chen Yutian's words. Who laughed just now? Is there anything wrong? Chen Yutian's face darkened. He didn't expect such a student to exist. Sir, I've seen him before. There's someone in our class who's very strong as well. Your military boxing might not be his match. The one who spoke was the blonde, Tiger Rights follower, the one Lin Yi had taught a lesson to. Previously, when Pan Huyu saw Lin Yi's actions in the cafeteria, he guessed that Lin Yi did not dare to cause trouble on campus, so he began to carry out his plan. He had Huang Mao create some trouble for Lin Yi to disgust Lin. It would be best if Lin Yi could deduct some credits so that he could suffer in silence. This was the highest level of pranking people. Oh, who are you talking about? Chen Yutian frowned as he looked at the blonde's hair color. A trace of disgust flashed through his eyes. This guy was probably a gangster, doing whatever he wanted in school just because his family was rich. However, this was the military, not a school. Naturally, Chen Yutian wouldn't let him do whatever he wanted. It's Lin Yi, he's a martial arts master. Huang Mao pointed at Lin Yi's direction. Oh, how do you know he's a martial arts master? Are you one too? Chen Yutian asked. Huh. Huang Mao didn't expect Chen Yutian to point his spear at him. He was caught off guard. Right coiling tiger furrowed his brows. He had been feeling proud of his plan. After all, now that he'd said that, it would be difficult for Lin Yi to decide whether to accept the challenge or not. From Tiger Right's point of view, it would be easy for Lin Yi to defeat this instructor with his strength, but if he defeated the instructor, wouldn't he lose face? Would Lin Yi be able to do well in the military training in the future? Even if the instructor didn't hold a grudge against Lin Yi would still be reprimanded by the school when he returned. But if Lin Yi admitted defeat on purpose, with his strength that could even defeat an Earth-class master, wouldn't it be a very frustrating thing to admit defeat to a normal instructor? If he didn't accept the challenge, Lin Yi would be disobeying orders. Disobeying orders in military training would also result in points deduction. However, Tiger Right didn't expect that the conflict would be shifted back to the blonde. I'm asking you a question. How do you know that Lin Yi is a master? Chen Yutian yelled at the blonde. The blonde didn't know how to explain. Since you know that he's a master, then I see that you're a master as well. Come, fight me and show us military boxing. Chen Yutian knew that the blonde didn't have any good intentions. He wanted to teach him a lesson so that he wouldn't stop. Even if the blonde wasn't against Lin Yi, Chen Yutian didn't have a good impression of him with his gangster outfit. Even if he could not graduate, it did not matter. He was just a guest in the Yu family. His education was of no use to him. Hence, the yellow hair chuckled. I can go, but instructor, let's make this clear first. What if I win your military boxing? The yellow hair man was slightly stunned, but he was not afraid. He was here to accompany his young master to study. Yu Coiling Tiger cared about credits, but the yellow hair did not care. Even if he could not graduate, it did not matter. Win? What do you say? Chen Yutian didn't expect the blonde to dare to raise a condition. He focused his eyes and wanted to see where the blonde got his confidence from. Unfortunately, Chen Yutian didn't have the foresight that Lin Yi had. Internal martial arts experts would only reveal their true strength when they were circulating their innate qi. If they did not deliberately reveal their true strength, then they would only reveal their true strength in battle or when they were using Qigong movement techniques. Physical masters didn't have true energy in their body. They could only use their strong physique to activate the true energy in nature. Therefore, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to see their true strength if they didn't make a move. If I win, the three of us won't participate in the military training anymore. But you have to give us full marks for the military training, and you have to give us bonus points as well. The blonde pointed at him, Tiger Right, and purple hair. Fine. Although it's against the rules, I'll still agree to it. Since you can't beat me, I'll show you what military boxing is. Chen Yutian laughed coldly. Hey, remember what you said? The blonde laughed and started to activate his incantation. In an instant, the strength of the early phase of the mystic class was revealed. Chen Yutian's eyes flashed with surprise. He didn't expect a gangster to be a master of the early phase of the mystic class. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1915. Of course, Chen Yutian didn't put him in his eyes. He was a master at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class, and his strength had been stabilized. Why would he be afraid of the yellow hair? Attack me, you can use all kinds of moves. I'll only use military boxing. Chen Yutian pretended not to see the yellow hair's strength and said indifferently. The yellow hair sneered in his heart. Pretending? It seems like you don't even know what a cultivator is, and you want to beat me with military boxing? Even if you practice military boxing to the extreme, you're still a normal person. The difference between you and a cultivator is like heaven and earth. Remember what you said. The yellow hair didn't say much and swung his fist. Of course, he was afraid that he would kill Chen Yutian with one punch, so he only used the strength of the early phase of the golden class to teach Chen Yutian a lesson. Bang! The blonde's fist landed on Chen Yutian's arm, and Chen Yutian's move was a defensive move in the military boxing. The yellow hair thought that even if he couldn't break Chen Yutian's arm, he would at least send him flying. However, Chen Yutian didn't move an inch, and the yellow hair retreated a few steps under Chen Yutian's defense, falling on his butt. Ha! Seeing the yellow-haired guy sitting on the ground, all the students present burst into laughter. This guy was so arrogant at the beginning. He even wanted the instructor to exempt them from military training. Not only that, he even wanted extra points. Who did he think he was? Chen Yutian didn't want to hurt the yellow hair, so he controlled his strength to the peak of the early phase of the mystic class, suppressing the yellow hair. One had to know that the difference between an earth class and an earth class was 1 level, and they could kill their opponent. So Chen Yutian only used military boxing to defend and didn't attack the yellow hair, wanting him to back off. But the yellow hair was too careless. If he used his full strength, he wouldn't fall on his butt like this, even if he couldn't do anything to Chen Yutian. Peak of the early phase of the mystic class. The yellow hair looked at Chen Yutian in disbelief. Since when were there so many cultivators? One had to know that he was from a hidden house, and that was why he had the strength of a mystic class. Chen Yutian was just a military instructor, and yet he was stronger than him? Right, Coiling Tiger and Purple Hair were practitioners as well. They couldn't see through Chen Yutian's strength before, and they'd be idiots if they still couldn't. Right, Coiling Tiger's face changed. Yellow Hair, come back. Purple Hair, you go. Yes. The purple-haired man nodded. He was a mid-phase mystic class master, a head above Chen Yutian, so he agreed without hesitation. I didn't expect Instructor Chen to be a master. Since that's the case, I'll take 2 of your attacks for my brother. Purple Hair stood up and said to Chen Yutian indifferently. Oh, since you're here, then come. Look carefully. If you meet these little hoodlums in the future, be like me, and you won't be bullied by them. Chen Yutian used these 2 as examples to explain to the students. The purple-haired man was pissed. He was a mid-phase mystic class master, not a hoodlum. But this wasn't the time to talk, and Chen Yutian didn't point out his name. The purple-haired man could only hold it in for now. He'd defeat Chen Yutian later, and that would be the best way to retaliate. Ah, yes, Instructor Chen. We're watching carefully. The student said. Peak of the early phase mystic class, is that strong? The purple-haired man sneered at Chen Yutian. He activated his internal arts, revealing his strength as a mid-phase mystic class master. Come, continue to attack me. Chen Yutian glanced at the purple-haired man, and he was even more shocked. There was a mid-phase mystic class? What kind of class was this? There were hidden dragons and crouching tigers. But compared to an earth class master like Lin Yi, these people were too weak. Huh. The purple-haired man froze. This Chen Yutian was only at the peak of the early phase mystic class, but he wasn't afraid of him, a mid-phase mystic class master, and even asked him to attack him. Was he an idiot? A high-level master attacking an earth class master, wasn't that a one-sided attack? Hurry up, don't waste everyone's time. Chen Yutian looked at the purple-haired man impatiently. The purple-haired man was pissed. He snorted coldly and kicked towards Chen Yutian. Since Chen Yutian was a master at the peak of the early phase mystic class, the purple-haired man didn't need to hold back anymore. He would use his full strength and injure Chen Yutian. He was at the peak of the early phase mystic class anyways, and he wouldn't die. The purple-haired man wanted Chen Yutian to suffer in silence. He was the one who asked him to attack. Even if he injured Chen Yutian, he could only pinch his nose and accept it. He was the one who agreed to the conditions of winning. However, when the purple-haired man kicked, Chen Yutian also used a military boxing to win. But what shocked the purple-haired man was that Chen Yutian wasn't a master at the peak of the early phase mystic class. He was clearly at the peak of the late phase mystic class. The purple-haired man regretted it, but it was too late. The moment his foot touched Chen Yutian's fist, he flew backwards. The distance he flew was much further than the yellow-haired man. He flew to the edge of the training ground and landed heavily on the ground, screaming in pain. Ouch! This was the result of Chen Yutian holding back. Otherwise, with Chen Yutian's strength, killing the purple-haired man was as easy as playing with a toy. Wah! The students at the scene immediately gasped in surprise, followed by thunderous applause. Chen Yutian's move was too cool. It looked like an ordinary move, but it had such power. It was like a stunt scene in a martial arts movie. A normal person's punch could only knock someone down, but this kind of punch could send someone flying so far away. Ordinary people couldn't even see it. It was something that could only be seen in movies. Chen Yutian's punch could only be seen in movies. But now, it happened in front of everyone's eyes. It turned out that those scenes in the movie were not a lie to attract attention, but in fact, there really was such a powerful person who could do it. Yellow hair, purple hair, right coiling tiger, you've violated the rules. Run 100 laps around the barracks or you can't have lunch. Chen Yutian glanced at right coiling tiger. He knew that these three were in cahoots. Since the yellow-haired man and the purple-haired man weren't ordinary people, this right coiling tiger was probably a practitioner as well. Running 100 laps wasn't a big deal. Yes. The yellow-haired man, the purple-haired man, and right coiling tiger were furious, but they didn't dare to act rashly. This instructor was actually a master at the peak of the late phase mystic class. In front of such a master, they couldn't fight back. Seeing the three running laps, the students at the scene burst into laughter. Target equals, Enjoy. Chapter 1916. Field Training. Alright, everyone has seen the power of military boxing. Now, are you guys willing to learn from me? Chen Yutian asked. After witnessing Chen Yutian's power with their own eyes, who wouldn't be willing to learn? In fact, military boxing was indeed powerful, but it depended on the person using it. If Chen Yutian wasn't a mystic class master, he wouldn't be able to send someone flying with just one punch. However, Chen Yutian was more than happy to use this method to motivate the students. Seeing was believing. His fight with the blonde and purple hair was more convincing than any explanation. He believed that the medical major would be one of the classes that studied military boxing the most seriously. Under Chen Yutian's guidance, everyone practiced enthusiastically. Even Wang Xinyan was sweating from exhaustion, but she was still very serious. Fuck, Master Yu, why are we so unlucky? The blonde said helplessly as he ran. This is weird, any instructor is a mystic class master. Mystic class masters are so worthless. Yu Coiling Tiger frowned, but a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Let's run, we'll teach that Lin a lesson when we get back. I thought that boss Bai wouldn't be around during the military training, and I wanted to discuss Lin a little. What a lucky bastard, the purple hair said. However, as soon as the purple hair finished speaking, Chen Yutian scolded, "What are you three mumbling about? You seem to be very energetic? Add another 100 laps. Chen Yutian glanced at Yu Coiling Tiger. Although this guy was only a golden class master, running a few hundred laps wouldn't tire him out, so he added another 100 laps for them. Yu Coiling Tiger and the others groaned in their hearts, but there was nothing they could do. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. The next program was field training. This was one of the most important programs in the military training, and it was also the toughest training. This was a test of everyone's ability to survive in the wild. Early in the morning, a few buses brought all the biology students to the foot of a mountain about 50 kilometers away from the army camp. This was a nameless mountain range, not far from the border. The training this time was for 3 people to form a group and go up the mountain to find a small flag at a designated location. Because each flag was placed in a different position, each flag had a GPS positioning device, and each team would be randomly given a GPS receiver. Only by following the coordinates on the receiver could they find the flag, and the first 3 teams to find the flag would each receive 2 extra points as a reward. The training would last for 2 days, starting from this morning and ending tomorrow night. The teams that did not find the flag would only have 1 military training credit deducted. Although this training looked very simple, with the GPS coordinates indicating, how difficult would it be to actually find it? This mountain was not a tourist attraction. There were no ready-made paths at all. Although the mountain walls were not steep, the forest was still covered with jungles. It was obviously not an easy task to pass through the layers of jungles to find the target. Moreover, the location of each flag was different. There was no chance of working together in such a big mountain. They could only rely on the 2 people in the same team to find the flag. Chen Yutian taught the students some essential knowledge of survival in the wild. Although there weren't any beasts on the mountain, most of the students grew up in the city. They didn't have any survival experience in the wild. It would be bad if something happened. However, just in case, Xianxia still had a backup plan. There's a red switch behind this GPS coordinate device. This is an emergency warning switch. If you guys really meet with danger on the mountain, just flip this switch, and we will know your coordinates. The rescue team will rush to the scene immediately. Xianxia said, "Of course, if you don't meet with danger and just randomly flip the switch, I will also cancel your points for this field training. I hope everyone can cooperate with each other, and the three of you must learn to support each other. I don't want any of you to fall behind. If any of you fall behind, no matter if you find the flag or not, your points will be deducted directly." Everyone was worried when they heard that they had to go up the mountain alone to find the flag, but with this emergency switch, there was no problem. As for falling behind, no one thought about it. No one could leave their classmate behind. Alright, next, students from all classes form groups of 3. Come here to collect the GPS, compressed biscuits, drinking water, medical kit, and camping supplies, Xianxia said. The number of people in Lin Yi's class wasn't a multiple of 3. There were 2 extra people, so Lin Yi didn't hesitate and formed a group with Xinyan. Normally, they would find an extra student from another class to form a group, but Xianxia knew how strong Lin Yi was. Lin Yi could carry Xinyan up the mountain without a problem, so he agreed without hesitation. After all the groups had collected their things, everyone prepared to go up the mountain under Xianxia's orders. However, not long after they went up the mountain, they didn't have anyone in the same direction. Their flags weren't in the same position, and they were scattered all over the place. The mountain was big and tall, and very few people were willing to take detours with others. Most of them chose the straight distance on the GPS. However, on a mountain like this, even if it was a straight distance, it was impossible to walk in a straight line. After all, there were some rocks and trees that had to be detoured. Xinyan was a little embarrassed as she looked at Lin Yi carrying all the luggage. "Lin Yi, can you share some of this with me?" Most groups had 3 guys, and there wasn't much to share even if there was more, but Lin Yi's group was small to begin with, and Xinyan was a girl, so the heavy burden fell on Lin Yi's shoulders. "It's fine, these aren't heavy at all. Just maintain your stamina. If you collapse from exhaustion, I'll have to carry you as well. Won't that be more tiring?" Lin Yi smiled. "Oh." Xinyan blushed a little. She didn't know why, but she was looking forward to it. She didn't know when it started, but Xinyan was getting used to the feeling of Lin Yi beside her. It had only been a few days, but she felt like she was relying on him. Xinyan didn't know if this feeling was good or bad, but she didn't reject it. It was the first time in her life that she was this close to a boy. She was surprised that she didn't hate Lin Yi at all. Chapter 1917. No other meaning. Xinyan was a quiet person, and she'd never fallen for a man before. She even had a natural repulsion towards men, and the reason for that was her 2 uncles being too evil. They'd never liked her since she was a child, and that had given her a bad impression of other men. But she'd never felt that way since she'd met Lin. Perhaps it was because of the chance encounter on the train, and she'd felt pity for him when she saw him getting tricked. She'd been surprised to find out that it wasn't Lin Yi who'd been tricked, but the scammers. She'd been curious about what Lin Yi was like. The second time they'd met was in the business district of Songshan. She'd gotten into some trouble, and Lin Yi had taken care of it easily. From that moment on, Xinyan felt that Lin Yi was a good friend. But the time they truly opened their hearts to each other was that time on the plane, when she'd been feeling down. She'd told him a lot about her life and worries, and from then on, they'd become closer than just normal friends. They could be considered good friends now. Step by step, Xinyan realized that Lin Yi was a good person, and a good one at that. But thinking about it, Lin Yi might be a good person in her eyes, but in the eyes of the Xiao family, Lin Yi was a super bully. The 2 climbed for about a kilometer, and Xinyan was starting to run out of stamina. It had been easier at the start, but now it was getting more and more difficult. There were branches, leaves, and mud everywhere, and it slowed them down quite a bit. Of course, if it weren't for Xinyan, Lin Yi would have been able to find Xiaoqi and come back with ease. This sort of jungle route was a piece of cake for Lin Yi, after all. Back in the primeval forest in Africa, a place full of wild beasts, snakes, swamps, poisonous plants, and bugs, Lin Yi was still able to run like he was flying. Let's rest if you're tired, Lin Yi said after finding a relatively clean spot. It's okay, I can still hold on. Xinyan didn't want to rest so soon. How long would they be able to find Xiao Qi if they kept resting? It's okay. The scenery here is beautiful. Just take it as a view. Lin Yi said with a smile, look at the maple leaves all over the mountains. How beautiful. As far as Lin Yi was concerned, if he couldn't find it in the end, he'd just run over and take the flag back, and that would count as completing the mission. As for the top 3, Lin Yi didn't really care about them. Boss Bai had already guaranteed that he'd be able to graduate smoothly, so why would he need credits? Boss Bai was the boss in the Faculty of Medicine. With his promise, even the principal would not say anything. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Xinyan sat down as well after hearing Lin Yi's words. She couldn't help but think of a poem as she looked at the red leaves. Far away on the cold mountain, there is a house in the depths of the clouds. Stop to love the maple forest at night. The frost leaves are redder than flowers in February. It was just a random poem, but Xinyan's face reddened when she said it out loud. The third line of the poem, stop and sit in love with the maple forest, had been changed by some bored people to stop and sit in love with the maple forest to describe car vibrations. Xinyan had just been on campus 2 days ago. Xinyan had read it on campus 2 days ago. I'm just saying I don't mean anything by it, Xinyan added. Lin Yi looked at Xinyan, confused. What's wrong? What do you mean by nothing by it? Xinyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she looked at Lin Yi's face. Was she overthinking things? Lin Yi hadn't thought of all this? But she couldn't just explain it to him. Lin Yi hadn't thought of all this, and it wouldn't be good if she explained it like that. It's nothing. Nothing? Lin Yi frowned as he thought back to what Xinyan had said. You said stop? Lin Yi had been on campus when he was looking into the school's affairs. He'd seen someone tampering with the poem on QQ, but Xinyan was referring to this. No, I didn't. Why are your thoughts so impure? Xinyan's face reddened. Wasn't she just making him even more curious after saying that she didn't have anything to do with it? It would have been better if she hadn't reminded him, but he remembered now. Lin Yi shrugged helplessly. You're the one who said it first. All right, I'm done resting. Let's keep going. Xinyan said, changing the topic. With that, she stood up and started walking. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Xinyan was quite an interesting character. She didn't look like she didn't belong to the world, but she was a little cold in front of people she wasn't familiar with. Once they got to know each other, her personality would become more cheerful. She was similar to the Miss in this regard, but not exactly the same. The Miss was cold on the outside but warm on the inside, but she wouldn't be as quiet as Xinyan. They walked for a while, and it was almost noon. Lin Yi took out a pack of biscuits from his bag. Hungry? Do you want to eat something first? I'm not that hungry yet. Maybe we can wait a bit longer? Xinyan was afraid that it wouldn't be enough. She'd looked at other people's GPSs before, and none of them had a GPS as far as the one she was holding. This was practically the end of the mountain, and they'd have to climb over the other side of the mountain to find the flag. Xinyan didn't know why she was so unlucky to get a GPS like this. She didn't want to waste food. Perhaps she and Lin Yi would be the last group to complete the mission. In fact, Yutian gave her this GPS on purpose. From his point of view, it was safer to give the furthest coordinate to Lin Yi. With Lin Yi's skills, it was a piece of cake for him to get the red flag. It's fine, the two of us got a bag of supplies too, and it's enough for 3 people. Lin Yi smiled as he tossed a bag of biscuits to Xinyan. Let's eat a little. Xinyan was hungry when she saw the food. If Lin Yi didn't take it out, she might be able to hold on for a bit longer. The two found a clean place and sat down. They ate some biscuits and drank some water before continuing their journey. After eating, Xinyan recovered a lot of her strength. However, the distance to the destination was too far. They walked for another 4 hours and they were only halfway there. Lin Yi sighed when he saw that Xinyan was starting to run out of stamina. We're at least 20 kilometers away from our destination in a straight line. We need to get there before nightfall, or we won't be able to make it back in time for the training mission tomorrow. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1918. Sigh, It's all my fault. I got a GPS that's so far away. I've seen other people's GPS, some of them are very close, but the total distance is less than 20 kilometers. Xinyan smiled bitterly. Her one-way trip was equivalent to someone else's round trip. Lin Yi, naturally, knew that Yutian did it on purpose. Only he had the ability to carry someone this far, so he left the most difficult part to him. Of course, there was another GPS that was just as difficult as Lin Yi's. It was in the opposite direction of Lin Yi, at the end of the mountain range. They had to cross the mountain as well. But Yutian threw the GPS to Tiger Right and the other two. It was a piece of cake for these three practitioners to get there. Lin Yi was an earth class, but even with Xinyan he might not be as fast as the three of them. It'll be fine with me here. If worse comes to worst, I'll carry you, Lin Yi smiled nonchalantly. I'll hold on a little longer. Xinyan hesitated and gritted her teeth. Although it would be easy for Lin Yi to carry her, Xinyan was shy and didn't want to risk it. Also, she was afraid that Lin Yi would be too tired. Lin Yi nodded, but after seeing how tired Xinyan was, he reached out his hand to her. Xinyan hesitated, but still held Lin Yi's hand. This was the first time a guy held her hand, but it wasn't because they were in love, but because they were teammates helping each other. Xinyan knew that Lin Yi wouldn't have any ulterior motives. He just wanted to help her, that's all. But, although Xinyan said that in her heart, her hands were still a little stiff. Her palms were sweaty from holding Lin Yi's hand not long ago. Lin Yi smiled, feeling Xinyan's nervousness. We're teammates now. Xinyan paused for a second, but smiled and nodded. Yeah, we're comrades in arms. The knot in Wang Xinyan's heart was unraveled, and her grip on Lin Yi's hand tightened. She didn't feel nervous anymore, but a comfortable sense of security replaced it. It was as if she had nothing to fear as long as she held onto his hand, and all difficulties were nothing more than floating clouds. Lin Yi stumbled along the way for another 10 kilometers before the sky darkened. Dark came early in late autumn, and it was already 6 in the evening. Lin Yi didn't have any obstacles in his way, but Xinyan was a girl, and it was obvious that she was a little afraid. When carrying out a mission in the primeval forest, Lin Yi would usually choose to act at night. There was a saying that went, "The night is dark and the wind is strong, and the night is the night to kill. Let me carry you." Lin Yi looked at the coordinates on the GPS. The two of them had already passed the peak and were now going down the mountain towards their destination. The old saying was right. It was easy to go up the mountain, but difficult to go down the mountain. It was hard to go up the mountain, but it was less dangerous. It was easy to go down the mountain, but it was easy to lose your footing. Of course, this was no problem for an Earth-class practitioner like Lin Yi. He wouldn't die even if he slid down the mountain. But it wasn't the same for Xinyan. Going down the mountain was harder than going up, especially since the sky was already dark. She didn't dare to walk too fast. That was why Lin Yi suggested carrying Xinyan on his back. Xinyan was hesitating. They were less than 10 kilometers away from their destination, but it was all the way down the mountain. If she kept walking like this, it would be late at night. If the two of them rested for the night, they wouldn't be able to wake up at noon the next day. They wouldn't be able to make it back in time. Come on, my comrade. Lin Yi hung his backpack in front of his chest and squatted down. Xinyan heard Lin Yi and didn't resist anymore. She wrapped her arms around Lin Yi's neck and laid on top of Lin. But when the softness of her chest pressed against Lin, Xinyan remembered that she wasn't wearing a bra. Didn't that mean that she was lying on Lin Yi's back? But thinking about it, a normal person's back shouldn't be very sensitive. Lin Yi shouldn't feel anything. She didn't know that Lin Yi wasn't a normal person, but a special one. He was an Earth-class practitioner, and practitioners had the most flexible control over their body parts. That was why when Xinyan laid on top of Lin Yi reacted. Fortunately, Xinyan was behind him, and the sky was dark. She couldn't see his reaction at all, otherwise Lin Yi would be embarrassed. Xinyan thought about how Lin Yi's backpack was hanging in front of him, and she wanted to help Lin Yi carry it, but then she remembered that she was still on Lin Yi's back. Even if she carried the backpack, she'd be putting the weight on Lin Yi's back. What difference would that make? Xinyan thought that Lin Yi would be walking very slowly with her on his back, But when she looked at the trees in front of her, she realized that not only did Lin Yi not slow down, he was walking even faster than before. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was walking like he was flying. What surprised Xinyan the most was that Lin Yi didn't have the feeling that she had. His steps were very steady, and he didn't miss a single step. Could it be that Lin Yi had been accommodating her all this time, and that was why he was walking so slowly? Xinyan felt even more ashamed at the thought. In fact, even if Lin Yi closed his eyes, he could still walk like he was flying, and he could see more clearly than with his eyes open. Although he felt the softness on his back, Lin Yi's attention quickly shifted to other places. What should he do with Miss and Shu? With their personalities, they might not be in a group with others. They weren't practitioners and they were girls. Would they be in danger if they went up the mountain? However, phones weren't allowed to be used here, and they were locked in a cabinet in the barracks. Even if Lin Yi wanted to contact Miss, it was impossible. He could only ask Chen Yutian to take care of Mississippi. But thinking about it, with Yushu around, Chen Yutian wouldn't give them complicated tasks. Finally, Lin Yi arrived at his destination. It had to be said that Lin Yi had been moving very fast this way. He'd covered 10 kilometers in less than half an hour, and this was under Lin Yi's deliberate control. He didn't want to scare Xinyan too much. Normally, he'd only run for 10 minutes, but Lin Yi didn't want to scare Xinyan. Xinyan was too tired, and she fell asleep on Lin Yi's shoulder. It was a comfortable and safe feeling, as if she had forgotten all her worries when she laid on Lin Yi's broad shoulder. Although it was only half an hour, Xinyan still slept soundly. Chapter 1919. Lin Yi's sudden stop woke Xinyan up. She didn't know how long she slept for, but when she opened her eyes and saw the flag not far from her, she woke up immediately. We're here? We're here already? Xinyan couldn't believe it. Lin Yi had been carrying her for so long, and they're already here? You're awake. Lin Yi knew that Xinyan was asleep, and Lin Yi was the first to notice her waking up. I'm sorry, I'm too tired and fell asleep, Xinyan said apologetically. There's nothing to be sorry about. Lin Yi smiled. That's how it should be. Rest up and we'll continue our journey tomorrow. After putting Xinyan down, Lin Yi took the flag and put it in his bag before setting up the tent. In an SUV at the foot of the mountain, Chen Yutian and a few other warriors were staring at a computer screen. When Yutian saw the GPS in Lin Yi's hand coincide with the flag's coordinates, he knew that they had arrived at their destination. Yutian let out a sigh of relief. Although Lin Yi was slower than Pan Hu and the others, Lin Yi was carrying a girl. However, in the last 10 kilometers, Lin Yi's speed was very fast. Yutian guessed that Lin Yi was carrying Xinyan. Lin Yi, why don't I help you? You should eat something too. Carrying me on your back must be tiring, right? Xinyan said as she watched Lin Yi assembling the tent. It's fine, you eat first. You've never done this before, and it'll take a lot of time to assemble it according to the blueprint, Lin Yi said as he moved the parts of the tent. Xinyan was startled. Didn't he look at the blueprint? But when she took a closer look, Lin Yi really didn't look at the blueprint. It was folded on the side, and Lin Yi didn't even open it. You've assembled it before? Xinyan was surprised. And these military tents are assembled the same way. I used to do it all the time. Lin Yi sighed. It was as if he had returned to those days of war, camping with his teammates every night, assembling the tents. Pangolin was the most enthusiastic when it came to assembling the tents, and sleeping was his favorite thing to do. Lin Yi's heart sank at the thought of Pangolin. He still hadn't found the culprit who killed Pangolin. Although Lin Yi had destroyed the common house U, they were just accomplices, not the mastermind. The mastermind should be the organization called Red Conscious. Although Lin Yi had killed 2 important members of Red Conscious, it was far from enough. Lin Yi's goal was to destroy the whole family. Only by destroying this organization would he be able to vent his hatred. He thought of Ying Ziyu, wondering how she was doing. According to Faubert, she and Chen Shi both got into Songshan's first school, but Chen Shi reached the minimum requirement to be a free student, and Ying Ziyu barely reached the minimum requirement to be a self-funded student. But with Faubert there, Ying Ziyu didn't have to pay. Pengzhan Industries wasn't in trouble yet, so Faubert still had the absolute right to speak. Even after Hausen took over, They wouldn't pursue something as small as this. They didn't have the time to. This time, Lin Yi planned to go visit Xianxia and see how she was. Lin Yi cared about this girl quite a bit, and the reason was that she was Pangolin's sister. In the past, Xianyan was curious. You used to assemble these? I used to. Lin Yi smiled bitterly, but for some reason he didn't hide anything from Xianyan. In the past, my life and yours were two different worlds. Perhaps it was because of Lin Yi's trust in Xianyan, or perhaps Lin Yi didn't need to hide anything with his current strength. Those enemies of his weren't enemies to Lin Yi anymore, and Lin Yi wasn't afraid of their revenge. Lin Yi was a golden class back then, so he was afraid that his old enemies would come looking for him. But now that Lin Yi was an earth class, the enemies he faced were all at least mystic class. There was no point in hiding it anymore. Xianyan paused. You mean before you came to Songshan? Something like that? That time when I met you on the train was the beginning of my assimilation into this city. Lin Yi nodded. Xianyan didn't ask what Lin Yi did before. Everyone had their secrets, and she didn't want to put Lin Yi in a difficult position. Let's eat something and rest. Okay. Lin Yi put the last part of the tent in place. The tent was now complete. Lin Yi and Xianyan sat in front of the tent, opening a pack of compressed biscuits under the moonlight. Xianyan was hungry, but she didn't eat too much, which surprised Lin. You want to eat more? Xianyan blushed. It's not convenient to go to the bathroom here. I don't want to eat too much. We're deep in the forest, just find a random place. Lin smiled. It's fine, eat more. We still have a long way to go tomorrow. Lin Yi tried to persuade her, but Xianyan still didn't eat too much. She drank quite a bit of mineral water, though. The two of them had brought a lot of water. Perhaps Xianyan was trying to help Lin Yi lighten up, and drinking water could fill up their stomachs. I'm full, let's rest. Xianyan took a deep breath. The air here is so good. Yeah, there's no noise and waste from the city. If we weren't in a rush, this would be a good place for a vacation. Lin Yi said. Yeah, let's rest. Xianyan nodded. She was about to enter the tent when she saw that Lin Yi wasn't moving. Lin Yi, aren't you coming to rest with us? You go, I'll be fine outside. Lin Yi didn't enter the tent. It's fine. Didn't we sleep together back in the barracks? Xianyan said, seeing that Lin Yi wasn't feeling comfortable. It wasn't that there were a lot of people, but now it's just the two of us. Lin Yi was worried that Xianyan would be embarrassed, but Xianyan was being more generous. I trust you. Xianyan lowered her head, not saying anything else. She was actually asking a guy to sleep with her. It would have been inconceivable in the past, but now it was natural. Okay. Lin Yi nodded after a bit of hesitation. Chapter 1920. Wang Xinyan's scent was beneficial to his training, so Lin Yi didn't want to waste this opportunity. He might not get another chance like this when he got back to school. Sleeping together in the barracks with other people was considered a group activity, but now that Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan were in the same tent, the atmosphere was a little awkward, but this scene gave Lin Yi a familiar feeling. It was also in a tent, with a beautiful and gentle girl. Lin Yi seemed to have experienced something similar. Was it Ning? Lin Yi shook his head. They were in a cave, not in a tent. But in the depths of his memory, it seemed like today had happened before. Was it a past life? Or was it a dream? Or was it fate between him and Wang Xinyan? If it was the latter, then it was possible. They were fated to be together, sitting in the same seat a few times, and now they were in the same bed. How many times could there be such a coincidence in life? Are you asleep? Wang Xinyan's words interrupted Lin Yi's thoughts, bringing Lin Yi back to reality. No, why? Linist. I'm a little scared, it's so quiet here. Wang Xinyan entered the tent and felt that the surroundings were eerily quiet. She was in the barracks with her classmates, and there were soldiers patrolling outside. It had never been this quiet. You'll get used to it. This mountain is a dead mountain, there aren't any beasts, but it's safe. Lin Yi said, some of the mountains are not quiet, but they're even scarier at night. What Lin Yi said was the truth. The night in the tropical forest was the scariest. Not only did they have to be on guard against enemies, But they also had to be on guard against all kinds of beasts and poisonous insects. Here, however, there was no danger at all. And, can you talk to me? Wang Xinyan was tired, but she didn't sleep too much. She remembered that Lin Yi wasn't asleep yet, so she said apologetically, "Right, you haven't slept yet. Why don't you rest first? Don't worry about me. I'm a cultivator. I'm fine even if I don't sleep." Lin Yi shook his head and smiled. "Lin Yi, what do you think we should pursue in life?" Xinyan had been lost for a while now, not knowing the meaning of life. Was she just going to be a sacrifice for her family? Everyone has their own pursuits, I can't say for sure. Lin Yi was a little puzzled as to why Xinyan would ask such a profound question. "Then what is your pursuit?" Xinyan regretted asking the question. "I'm sorry, I was just asking randomly. It's fine if you don't want to tell me. Once, a long time ago, I also asked myself what my pursuit and goal was. But during that period of time, I was very confused. I didn't know what I was pursuing and what my goal was. Every day, I seemed to be doing things that I didn't like, but I had to do them." Lin Yi said, "At that time, I really didn't know what I was pursuing, and I didn't know if I would spend the rest of my life in such a muddle." "Oh? What happened after that?" Xinyan was a little surprised. Lin Yi had that kind of feeling in time. After that, I came to Songshan, where I had my own love, my own friends. I wanted to protect them, to give them a better life. That was my pursuit and goal." Lin Yi said, "Only by becoming stronger can I achieve all of that." "Then I'm a little envious of you." Xinyan smiled bitterly. "I've never had many friends since I was young, and I've never fallen for a guy before. I don't know what true love is, and I don't have any close friends either." "Ah, I'm not your friend?" Lin Yi asked with a smile. "Of course you are. I think I've found it. I've said a lot of things in front of you, things I've never done before." Xinyan smiled. "But you don't need me to protect you. You're the one protecting me instead. Friends help each other, of course. There's no rule that says who has to protect who." Lin Yi said. "But is there really such a thing as pure friendship between a guy and a girl?" Xinyan asked all of a sudden. Lin Yi blinked. He was about to say that there was, but wasn't there one between him and her? But he shook his head inwardly. Pure? He'd had thoughts when he saw Xinyan naked, and he'd had a physiological reaction when he felt the softness of her breasts. Was that pure? Lin Yi couldn't help but have a reaction when he smelled the scent on Xinyan's body. It was a good thing that the tent was dark, and even with the moonlight, they could only see each other's faces clearly. Xinyan had a weird expression on her face as she looked at Lin Yi's stunned face. She turned her body sideways, wanting to chat more comfortably with Lin Yi, but something hard was pressing down on her. "You brought ham sausages?" Xinyan asked subconsciously. But after she said that, she immediately realized that something was wrong. She also knew what she had grabbed. Her face immediately turned red, and she quickly let go of her hand. She turned around and snorted, "Sure enough, pervert." "That's a normal reaction." Lin Yi smiled bitterly, a little helpless. "We're so close, and you smell so good." Xinyan's face reddened even more at Lin Yi's mention of her scent. "I'm sleepy, I fell asleep." Lin Yi didn't know what to say. He shook his head and calmed himself down before channeling the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Xinyan waited for a while, and felt a little apologetic when she saw that Lin Yi wasn't talking. She'd been in biology classes before, and she knew that this was a normal reaction from Lin. He didn't do it on purpose, and it would have been a problem if he hadn't. But she didn't want to apologize, and so she fell asleep. Xinyan woke up in the latter half of the night. She'd drunk too much water earlier, and her body was reacting. She wanted to go to the bathroom, but it was pitch black outside. She hesitated for a moment before reaching out to touch Lin. "Lin, what's wrong?" Lin Yi asked, opening his eyes. Lin Yi opened his eyes all of a sudden, not the slightest bit sleepy on his face. Xinyan jumped. "You're not asleep?" Target equals, Unfine. Chapter 1921. "Oh, I'm resting. There aren't many people here, I'm afraid something might happen." Lin Yi said, not bothering to explain about his training. Other practitioners needed to sleep, after all. Only the art of dragon mastery allowed him to train in the jade space without sleeping. Xinyan felt a little moved. Lin Yi didn't sleep because he was afraid of danger. Xinyan felt a little embarrassed at the thought. She'd called him a pervert before. If he was a pervert, why didn't he do something to her when she was asleep? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called you that. Xinyan said. Called me that? Since when did you curse me? Lin Yi didn't know what Xinyan was talking about. Are you dreaming or something? No, it was before I slept. I called you a pervert. Xinyan said, a little embarrassed. Oh, that it's nothing. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Oh, right, why did you call me? But. Xinyan only remembered her goal after Lin Yi's reminder. I drank too much water and I wanted to go out, but I'm a little scared. I see. Let's go, I'll stay with you. Lin Yi sat up, but realized that Xinyan might misunderstand if he said that. I mean, I'll be watching you from afar. I don't mean watching you, I mean guarding you. Lin Yi realized that the more he said, the more ambiguous it got. He might as well not say it. Okay. Xinyan understood what Lin Yi meant. She walked out of the tent first, blushing a little. Xinyan looked left and right. She and Lin Yi had chosen a flat, empty space. It was precisely because of this that Lin Yi chose this place. There really wasn't anything to hide in if they wanted to go to the bathroom. Xinyan had no choice but to run towards the forest. She ran for a few hundred meters before disappearing into a thicket. Lin Yi followed slowly, but didn't get too close. He only needed to sense where Xinyan was. Lin Yi didn't use his consciousness to sense where Xinyan was either. He'd be able to see her clearly that way. Xinyan was in a hurry, but Lin Yi wasn't far from her. Wouldn't he be able to hear her if she were to make a sound that could be heard in the silence of the night? Xinyan couldn't pee at the thought of that embarrassing shushing sound. Lin Yi waited for a long time, but didn't hear any movement from Xinyan. It was a little strange, but he didn't want her to feel awkward, so he didn't ask or walk over. Instead, he entered the jade space and used his consciousness to sense what was going on in the distance. He saw Xinyan squatting there with a blushing face. Lin Yi quickly looked away, and just as Lin Yi was about to retract his gaze, he saw two people about 20 meters in front of Xinyan. Two people in camouflage clothes. They didn't stand out in the dark of the forest, but Lin Yi could see them clearly with his consciousness. One of them was a Chinese, and the other was a foreigner with blonde hair. What were they doing here in the middle of the night? Thinking of this, Lin Yi didn't retract his divine sense, but locked onto these two people. Audie, I've brought the goods. Do you have the money ready? It was the Chinese who spoke. The two seemed to have just met. Baldy, why are you here? Wasn't it Brother Da who delivered the goods before? Audie recognized the man, but it wasn't the person he knew before. It was one of the people he knew, so he asked cautiously. Brother Da has been sent to the Fire Wolf Gang for a new mission. I'll be taking over here. The man called Baldy said proudly. From now on, I'll be in charge of the border drug trade. Then I'll call you Baldy Bro from now on. Congratulations. The foreigners spoke fluent Chinese. Ha, you flatter me. Bald Wolf laughed. He was obviously happy about his promotion. Oh. Xinyan was nervous to begin with, and the sudden burst of laughter made her scream out of reflex. Baldy's voice was very soft, and Lin Yi could only tell what they were saying through his lips. The laughter, however, was a little too loud in this quiet mountain. Xinyan didn't think that there would be other people around, and the voice clearly wasn't Lin Yi's. It was hoarse and unpleasant, and it was a man's voice. Xinyan screamed subconsciously, but someone covered her mouth before she could finish. Xinyan was even more shocked. She just heard the laughter, and now she was being kidnapped? But Lin Yi's voice rang in her ears. Don't worry, it's me. Xinyan relaxed when she heard it was Lin Yi. But now that she relaxed, all the pee she'd been holding in came out. Lin Yi was kneeling in front of her, covering her mouth, and her pee was all over Lin Yi's pants. Xinyan was embarrassed, but she couldn't control herself. She wanted to dig a hole in the ground and hide in it. How embarrassing was this? She'd let Lin Yi see her upper body, and now he'd seen her lower body, and now she'd peed all over him? But, although Lin Yi saw Xinyan pee all over himself, it was a rather romantic scene. But Lin Yi wasn't in the mood to peek. His attention was on the two people not far away. Lin Yi wasn't a nosy person, and what these two were doing here had nothing to do with him. But when Autidi mentioned de bro, it caught Lin Yi's attention. Wasn't Jiang Wen's brother and Jianda called de bro? Just when Lin Yi wanted to confirm if this de bro was in Jianda, the bald wolf's words confirmed Lin Yi's suspicions. Since the wolf mentioned the fire wolves, then de bro had to be in Jianda. Since it was related to the fire wolves and in Jianda, Lin Yi didn't mind creating some accidents for these two. They were people and gangs that had deep grudges against him. Xianxia's scream caught Autidi's attention as well, but it was dark on the mountain, and he couldn't see far. Xianxia was squatting on the ground, and there were bushes in front of her. They couldn't see each other at all. "What's that sound?" Autidi asked. "Is it the border patrol?" Chapter 1922. That shouldn't be the case. I've already asked around. These days are the military training days for Donghai Industry University, and the border guards are using this mountain as a training ground. There's no way they would be patrolling at this time, Baldy frowned. Donghai Industry University's military training wasn't a secret, and Baldy didn't need to ask around to get the information. It was absolutely true. Then could it be that there are students training nearby? Audie asked. That's impossible. We, the Red Conches, have been doing this for years, and we know the range of the training every year. This place is too far, and it's impossible for the students to come and go in 2 days. Those students aren't us, so how could they walk this far? Baldy shook his head. Maybe we heard wrongly. There's an owl nearby, and it sounded similar to the sound just now. If the border guards were here, then it would be a gunshot. You and I wouldn't be able to stand here and talk. You're right. Audie nodded after not hearing any strange noises for a long time. But at that moment, the sound came again, goo. The sound came from Lin Yi's mouth, mimicking the sound of an owl. Fuck, it really is an owl. That scared me to death. Audie heard it clearly this time and shook his head. No matter what, let's hurry up and trade. The goods are here. Check them. Baldy placed a black suitcase in front of Audie. Here, this is the money. Check it too. Audie handed a suitcase to Baldy. The two were old partners, and they didn't need to be too cautious. They checked the contents of the suitcase and closed it after finding nothing wrong. Lin Yi saw the contents of the suitcase clearly. One was filled with drugs and the other was filled with US dollars. Lin Yi wasn't interested in the drugs, but he was interested in the US dollars. Although he had extorted 2 billion from Jiang Wen, Lin Yi didn't have much to spend since Fatty Lai had to build his company. This suitcase of US dollars could help alleviate some of the financial pressure on Lin Yi. Most importantly, Lin Yi suddenly thought of Xiaoka from the orphanage. She probably needed money, right? With that in mind, Lin Yi decided that he was going to take advantage of the situation. He whispered into Xinyan's ear. There's 2 bad guys. Stay here and don't move. I'll take care of them. Xinyan wasn't scared anymore. All that was left was shyness. She nodded. It was only then that Lin Yi remembered that he was still covering Xinyan's mouth. He quickly let go and walked over to the 2 drug dealers. However, the 2 drug dealers were still talking about something after the transaction. I say, Brother Bald Wolf, why are there fewer and fewer goods recently? We have a shortage over there. Can you increase the supply? Audie asked as he weighed the suitcase in his hand. Our original partner, House Yu, has some problems. Without the support of House Yu's masters, our authority in the Golden Triangle has been declining. Bald Wolf sighed. I've already talked to the boss. He'll talk to the higher-ups and see if they can send a few practitioners over. That way, we can regain our authority. All right, this is your gang's internal matter. I have no right to interfere. I'll be leaving first. I don't feel at ease staying at the border for another minute. Audie nodded and prepared to leave. Bald Wolf took the money and prepared to leave as well. However, before the 2 of them could take a step, they groaned and fell to the ground. These people weren't even practitioners, and Lin Yi could knock them out without a sound. Lin Yi didn't kill them. Although it was easy for Lin Yi to kill these 2, Lin Yi still wanted to ask Bald Wolf a few questions. Lin Yi didn't want to force a confession out of someone like Baldy. He took out a couple of needles and stuck them into Baldy's head, waking him up as well. His eyes were a little glazed over. I'll ask you a few questions. Answer them one by one. Don't hide anything, Lin said sternly. Yes. Bald Wolf seemed to have entered a hypnotic state. He had lost his consciousness. This method was taught to Lin Yi by his master. Although it was effective, it could only be used on low-leveled people. After all, a practitioner's will was extremely strong. Even golden-class practitioners had strong spiritual power. Lin Yi couldn't hypnotize them with this method. However, this method was the fastest and most effective way to deal with such a small fry. However, after using it, there would be a certain side effect, which was that the person would forget a part of their memory. This memory varied from person to person. The shortest would be 1 day, and the longest would be 4 to 5 days. Therefore, they would not remember being hypnotized at all. Lin Yi planned on using the same method on the foreigner, making them forget what happened recently. That way, he'd be able to take the box of dollars without anyone noticing. As for these two, Lin Yi planned on handing them over to Chen Yutian for him, Yang Huijuan, and Lingshan to work together. After all, capturing so many drugs was a huge achievement. Lin Yi didn't mind letting these two use their full potential. It'd be a waste to just kill them. What's your name? What do you do? What organization do you belong to? Lin Yi asked. I'm Tu Lang, Bald Wolf in the underworld. I'm in charge of the drug trade for Red Conches. Bald Wolf said. Where's the headquarters of Red Conches? How many people are there? Who's the boss? What's his relationship with the Fire Wolves? Lin Yi asked. The headquarters of Red Conches is overseas. I don't know where it is. The one in China is just a branch, Bald Wolf said. Bald Wolf said, the Red Conch branch is in Qingrun City. The first master is dead, and the second master has been arrested. Currently, the third master is in charge. I don't know the third master's name because everyone calls him Third Master. Our Red Conches and the Fire Wolves are brother gangs. We help each other, but I don't know the details. Lin Yi was surprised by Bald Wolf's words. He didn't expect Red Conch's headquarters to be overseas. He didn't even know where it was. The one in China was just a branch. According to what he said, the big boss that Feng Tianlong killed was just a person in charge of Red Conch's branch. Red Conches had a lot of resources. Is there a cultivator guarding the Red Conch? What's the highest level? Lin Yi asked. The third boss is a practitioner himself. He's at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class. Other than him, there's only one master at the early phase of the golden class. Bald Wolf said. Red Conch's business is with House Yu. All the masters are from House Yu. Chapter 1923. Lin Yi nodded. It seemed like this Red Conch's wasn't that strong. The strongest was only a mystic class. Of course, this was only the strength of the branch. No one knew how strong the headquarters was. But Lin Yi didn't suspect that he was lying. Putting aside the fact that he couldn't lie in this situation, just from what he said to Otidi, it was obvious that House Yu was destroyed, and Red Conch's drug business was affected as well. Their power in the Golden Triangle was reduced. Tell me the address of the Fire Wolf Gang's branch. Lin said, I don't know the address. I'm just the person in charge of the drug business in Donghai. Every time I go to a meeting, it's the Conch Bar in Qingrun City. That's a small base for the Red Conches, Baldy said. Conch Bar? Lin Yi was surprised. These Red Conches were quite daring. They made a bar and called it Conch Bar. Weren't they afraid of being exposed? But Lin Yi thought that no one would connect this Conch Bar with the Red Conches. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is the safest place. This was probably the case. Who else is in charge of the drug business? Lin Yi continued. It used to be Brother De, we used to work under the third head. Even when we were working with House Yu, he was the one who handled the whole thing. Now that he's in charge, he's still the one in charge, Baldy said. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. It seemed like Armadillo's revenge was on this third head in charge. This guy was the mastermind behind House Yu's collaboration. No wonder there was no news from the second head in charge when they captured him. He wasn't in charge of the drug trafficking. All right, you can sleep now. Lin Yi had asked everything he needed to ask. If he asked more, Baldy wouldn't know. He had limited knowledge. He was just a small character. As for Otidi, Lin Yi did the same, but Autiti was a foreign gang leader. Lin Yi wouldn't be able to get anything useful out of him. Lin Yi wasn't interested in the gang at all. He let Autiti go back to sleep. After that, Lin Yi walked toward Xinyan. Lin Yi poked the two with needles. They wouldn't wake up for at least 2 hours. Xinyan's heart tightened when she heard footsteps. She was so nervous that she forgot to pull up her pants. She was just squatting there. She was afraid that something would happen to Lin Yi, but Lin Yi and the two were talking softly. Xinyan couldn't hear them, and she didn't dare stand up. "Lin, is that you?" Xinyan said, suppressing her fear as the footsteps got closer. "Yes, Xinyan, it's me," Lin Yi said as he walked up to Xinyan. What he saw stunned Lin Yi. "Ugh, what's wrong?" Xinyan stood up, pausing at the look on Lin Yi's face. A gust of wind blew past, and Xinyan realized that she'd forgotten to pull up her pants. Embarrassed, she quickly pulled them up. "But I forgot." "Ha, I know. I don't think you're trying to seduce me," Lin Yi joked. "Do?" Xinyan blushed. She knew that Lin Yi was joking. She quickly changed the topic. "Right, Lin Yi, those people, they're knocked out, but I'm afraid we'll have to go back tonight." Lin Yi said. "Oh." Xinyan nodded. "All right, I've rested enough, and my stamina is back. I'll contact Instructor Chen. Maybe we don't have to walk back. Someone's going to pick us up." Lin Yi smiled. "Right, your pants?" Xinyan said apologetically when she saw the wet patch on Lin Yi's pants. She'd puked on Lin Yi's pants, and now she'd peed on Lin Yi's pants. Did Lin Yi think she was a meddlesome girl? "Oh, it's fine. There's no smell. I'll be fine after I dry it." Lin Yi didn't mind. Xinyan was embarrassed and didn't say anything else. At the foot of the mountain, in the SUV, a soldier in charge of monitoring the coordinates saw the blinking on the screen. He immediately reported to Chen Yutian, who was taking a nap. "Captain Chen, we have a situation." Chen Yutian woke up immediately. He looked at the screen, but the blinking coordinates stunned him. It was Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan's coordinates? Chen Yutian thought that any of the students who participated in the field training could be in trouble. Only Lin Yi wouldn't be in trouble. Lin Yi was an Earth class. It would be unbelievable if a jungle like this could stop Lin Yi. But it just had to be Lin Yi's coordinates. If something happened to Lin Yi, it would be a huge problem. Chen Yutian didn't dare to underestimate it. He quickly ordered, "Get the rescue helicopter ready. I'll go check it out myself." A soldier on standby received the order and went to get the helicopter ready. Chen Yutian quickly got out of the SUV and walked towards the helicopter. However, Chen Yutian refused everyone else to get on the helicopter. He was going to fly the helicopter alone to get Lin. If Lin Yi was in danger, ordinary people wouldn't be able to help. Chen Yutian was the strongest here, and it was the safest for him to go alone. Although it was useless for him to go if it was something even Lin Yi couldn't handle, since Lin Yi sent out the signal, it meant that Lin Yi should be fine. To keep it a secret, Chen Yutian decided to go alone. The speed of the helicopter was much faster than walking. Soon, Chen Yutian got close to the coordinates. He saw Lin Yi's tent. There was an empty space near the tent, and Chen Yutian landed the helicopter without hesitation. However, what surprised Chen Yutian was that Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan were perfectly fine after he got off the helicopter. They were waiting for him at the tent, and under Lin Yi's feet, there were two strangers lying on the ground. He didn't know if they were dead or alive. "Boss." Chen Yutian called Lin Yi boss when there were no outsiders around. Wang Xinyan looked at Chen Yutian in surprise, and then looked at Lin. Instructor Chen called Lin Yi boss? What was going on? Although she was confused, she didn't ask. "Yutian, there are two drug dealers here. They were trading and I caught them." Lin Yi pointed at the two people on the ground. Chapter 1936, Back to School. "What? Drug dealers?" Chen Yutian's eyes widened in shock. He quickly ran over. "Boss, what's going on? Why are there drug dealers here?" "It's like this," Lin Yi said and told Chen Yutian about the drug dealers. Of course, he left out the part about Wang Xinyan going to the washroom. "I used silver needles to deal with these two people, and I asked around about the people behind them. They are from the Red Conch organization, but they will have temporary amnesia. Perhaps they won't remember the trade." Chen Yutian nodded. He knew about Lin Yi's methods, and he knew why Lin Yi wanted to know about the Red Conch organization. He didn't ask much. Temporary amnesia didn't matter as long as these two were drug dealers. The details of the trade weren't important. This is the box of drugs, right? Chen Yutian looked at the suitcase on the ground and asked. Yes, you can bring him back, but he'll be working on this case with Huaijuan and Lingshan. They've just come to Donghai and solved this case. They're pretty stable now. Lin Yi said to Yutian. No problem. Chen Yutian nodded. He didn't even ask if there was cash. From Yutian's point of view, the drug dealers would transfer money over the phone. Even if there was cash, he wouldn't ask if it was taken away by Lin Yi. Boss, why don't you and sis-in-law Xinyan take the helicopter back? Your mission is considered complete, and you caught 2 drug dealers. If it wasn't for you not wanting to be famous, you could get a lot of points for this contribution. So you guys are the first to complete the mission. Okay, I want to go back too. Lin Yi nodded. Xinyan found it very weird that Instructor Chen was calling her sis-in-law, but she didn't go out of her way to correct him. Her relationship with Lin Yi was getting more and more beyond friendship. Lin Yi packed up quickly, and Chen Yutian came over to help him take down the tent. The 2 drug dealers were thrown into the car, and the helicopter started flying down the mountain. No one objected to the fact that Lin Yi and Xinyan took the first place. They all knew that Lin Yi's contribution alone was worth more than the first place's points, but Lin Yi kept a low profile and didn't want to announce it. Chen Yutian called Huaijuan and told him to bring the 2 drug dealers back. Usually, the border guards would hand the drug dealers over to the local police for trial. Huaijuan was speechless when he heard that Lin Yi caught 2 drug dealers on the way up the mountain, but he was grateful that Lin Yi wanted him and Lingshan to do something. He drove over the night and brought the 2 drug dealers away. As for the aftermath, Lin Yi and Yutian didn't have to worry about it. Huaijuan felt weird when he brought the drug dealers away. Lin Yi was too amazing. He just talked to him about the drug dealers and the Red Conch a few days ago, and he brought the drug dealers back just like that? Lingshan said that as long as the case was handed to Lin Yi, there would be no case that couldn't be solved. Huaijuan was convinced that it was true. Huaijuan knew that Lin Yi was amazing, but he didn't expect him to be this amazing. Finding an enemy in the forest and finding a criminal in the city were 2 different things, and the methods of investigation were different as well. But for Lin Yi it was the same. It was still early, and Yutian called for an off-road vehicle for Lin Yi and Xinyan to get in and rest. The car was spacious, and sleeping was no problem after putting down the seats. But Lin Yi's first thought was to have sex in the car. Xinyan thought of it as well, but she didn't say anything. She knew her relationship with Lin Yi very well, and although they did flirt a lot, they were actually innocent. Because of the drug dealers on the mountain, the following faculties canceled the field training and moved on to the next step, the military boxing competition. After the military training, everyone returned to school, and the freshman party was about to begin. The freshmen's first semester wasn't very stressful. There were no specialized classes, and most of the time was filled with activities. Military training, freshman party, student council election, extracurricular club registration, sports day, art festival, and so on. The freshman party of the medicine faculty was a big problem every year. The programs at the gala were generally produced by majors, not by classes. Therefore, a major usually had at least 5 classes. At the very least, they could come up with a program. However, the pharmaceutical department only had 1 class, and the number of people in that class was very small. If they had to come up with a program, this problem would fall on the shoulders of every class monitor. Bai Weiduo even made a bet with Zhang Duopan. Whoever got the highest score in the freshman party would be able to pursue He Meiyue, and whoever got the lowest score would be automatically eliminated. Big brother Lin, Xiaodao, Xingji, can you help me think of a way? As soon as the military training ended and they returned to the dormitory, Bai Weiduo was anxious. He hadn't thought about it before, but when it really came, he realized how difficult it was to organize a program. You sing well, go and sing a solo. Song Xiaodao said helplessly, we don't have artistic cells. Asking us to help you think of a way is equivalent to harming you. Solo. Bai Weiduo shook his head. Although his singing was very good, it wasn't particularly outstanding. If it was in a party with fewer people, such as a junior high school art festival, it was still possible to get a place. But on a university campus where there were many talented people, a solo had no special characteristics, and it was very difficult to get a place. Moreover, Bai Weitua also knew that in the school, in the past freshman parties, it was usually a group program that won a place, not an individual program. As a freshman, being able to unite the group was a real ability, and individual ability was nothing. Then let's sing a duet. If you can sing, then sing. If you can't sing, then just harmonize or lip sync. Anyone can do it, Lin Yi said. Bai Weitua was stunned, but really, Lin Yi's move was a good one. This was because Bai Weitua had also seen some celebrity concerts. The celebrity was the main host in the front, and there was a choir at the back to help harmonize or sing a small part. If he was the main singer, and then let the students in the class go up to harmonize, this could be considered a group program. Thinking of this, Bai Weitua's eyes lit up. Then let's do it this way. I'll go back and talk to the students. Chapter 1924. Yeah, go get ready, I'll be heading out for a bit. Lin Yi received a text from the miss, saying that Faubert was coming over. Alright Lin bro, go do what you need to do, Bai Weitua said as he prepared to contact his classmates. As Bai Weitua spoke, he was ready to contact his classmates. Everyone was in the same dormitory building, and it was also on the same floor. It was very convenient to contact them. Lin Yi left the dorm and went to the car park. The miss and Shu weren't there yet, but he was surprised to see Xinyan there. Xinyan had changed back into her old clothes, and Lin Yi was still in his camouflage uniform. Xinyan was a little surprised, but then she remembered that she had spit on Lin Yi's pants. People might misunderstand if word got out. Wasn't there still her pee on his clothes? Xinyan's face reddened at the thought. Xinyan, what's wrong? Lin Yi was a little puzzled. Why was this girl blushing when she saw him? She wasn't this shy even when they were sleeping in the same bed. And nothing, I need to go out and buy some stuff. Xinyan didn't hide anything in front of Lin Yi. She took out a car key and walked up to one of the cars. It was the same one she'd driven on the business street. Lin Yi had seen it before. Book Ocean Pavilion Net. Buy stuff? Lin Yi blinked. Was she going to buy stuff for the ladies? Why else would she blush? But Lin Yi didn't ask. Are you going to the supermarket? Supermarket? Xinyan shook her head. No, I need to go to the hospital. I'm cold all over. I think I'm going to catch a cold. Xinyan didn't wear much during the military training, but she managed to persevere. She didn't expect to catch a cold when she got back to school. She wanted to go to the hospital as soon as possible. She didn't want to get sick right after school started. Cold? Lin Yi said, then you don't have to go. I'll help you take a look. Lin Yi was a doctor after all. Treating minor illnesses like this was a piece of cake for him. Wang Xinyan was his friend, so he didn't mind helping her out. As for the others, Lin Yi wouldn't be so kind. Yes, you're a doctor. Xinyan suddenly remembered that Lin Yi was a doctor. Back in the business district, Lin Yi had quickly healed that fainted old man and helped her out. Moreover, when he was on the way to the military training, he got carsick and vomited, but Lin Yi quickly cured him. Go to your car. Lin Yi knew that the miss and Shu would be here soon, and it wouldn't be good if Xinyan got in the car. It would be better for him to get treated in Xinyan's car. Book C Pavilion Net. Xinyan nodded without hesitation. The two got into Xinyan's car, but this scene was witnessed by the miss and Shu, who were walking over from not too far away. Yao, the school forum said that Wang Xinyan and Shield Bro had sex on the roof. It's so cool, but shouldn't we do some damage? Yushu said. Meng Yao, on the other hand, had a dark expression on her face. The school's BBS seemed to be telling the truth, and not only that, it said that Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan had sex in the gutter behind the barracks, and that Lin Yi had put his hand under Xinyan's shirt on the way to military training, and that Xinyan had even helped him do it with her mouth. But these were all hearsay, and there was no proof. Meng Yao would rather believe these rumors because she didn't think that Lin Yi was such a perverted person. She and Shu had lived with him for so long, and Lin Yi hadn't done anything out of line. Even when they were naked, he didn't lose his mind. When he was with Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao, the most intimate thing he did was holding hands. He just met Wang Xinyan not long ago. How could he be this close? Shu, what sex? How is that possible? If he wanted to have sex, he would have done it a long time ago. Why would he wait until now? I think it's most likely Xinyan's pursuers who saw how close Lin Yi and Xinyan got, and started slandering them. Even if that's not the case, Xinyan's still one of the prettiest girls in the first year. It's normal for there to be rumors about her. It's not impossible for people to start rumors like that. Didn't that little can say the same thing about you and her? Didn't you get an abortion? Oh, you're right. Yushu nodded. She was about to say something when she raised her head to see Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan getting into a sports car. She exclaimed, "Yao Yao, isn't that Shield Bro?" Meng Yao's face turned green. She was just defending Lin Yi, and Lin Yi got into someone else's car. How could she accept this? But Meng Yao still said, maybe they're going to get something or take a break. Oh, I'll send Detective Holmes to investigate then. With that, Yushu ran over to the scene. Xinyan's sports car had a film around it, so if you didn't lie down in front of it, you wouldn't be able to see what was going on inside. Xinyan, on the other hand, was too shy to take off her clothes in front of Lin Yi, so Lin Yi had no choice but to start massaging her under her clothes. Xinyan couldn't help but moan in comfort. Lin Yi's massage technique didn't look special, but Xinyan had never felt so relaxed before. Xinyan's face reddened a little after that moaning. Why did that sound so weird? Was he doing something? But Lin didn't seem to mind at all. He was still focused on massaging her. Xinyan, on the other hand, relaxed a little. She couldn't hold it in any longer and started moaning in comfort. Yushu couldn't see what was going on inside the car, so she could only lean her head against the car window and look inside. Xinyan's moans of comfort were heard before she could get a good look. She took a closer look and saw that Lin Yi's hand was moving around inside Xinyan's clothes as if he was. Yushu was a little taken aback. Since when did Shield Bro get this good? She definitely let him touch her when she got back. Lin Yi was so focused on massaging Xinyan that he didn't even notice the person lying on the car's side. They were in the school's parking lot, after all, and there shouldn't be anyone peeking at them, right? Besides, the Jade wouldn't give any warnings, so there shouldn't be any danger. Yushu was one of Lin Yi's teammates. Anyway, the Jade wouldn't give any warnings even if it saw her coming. Yushu remembered her mission after a while, and quickly ran back to report to Meng Yao. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1925. What's wrong, Shu? Why is your face so red? Meng Yao frowned. Could it be that Lin Yi and Xinyan were doing something shameful in the car? Shield Bro was touching Xinyan in the car, and Xinyan was there. Book Ocean Pavilion Net. Yushu said. Meng Yao didn't know what to say. Can't you use a more elegant word to replace it? But Yushu's words ignited Meng Yao's heart. She didn't know if it was because of Tang Yun or something else, but she rushed to Xinyan's car and pulled the door open. She roared at Lin, "Lin, you bastard! Get the fuck out of the car! How can you face Xiao like this?" Since she couldn't mention Tang Yun, she could only use Xiao. Luckily, she wasn't that impulsive. Lin Yi and Xinyan didn't lock the car door, and Meng Yao didn't think that she would be able to pull the door open. She looked into the car and saw that Lin Yi's hand was still in Xinyan's clothes. Meng Yao was about to explode from anger. Could it be that the news was true? Yao Yao? What's wrong with you? Lin Yi paused as he looked at the furious Meng Yao, not understanding what was going on. Book Ocean Pavilion Net. Lin Yi didn't know what was going on, but Xinyan understood why Meng Yao was angry. She must have misunderstood that Lin Yi and her were doing something shameful here. She blushed and lowered her head, not daring to look at Meng Yao and the others. Shield Bro, you touched Xinyan in the car. Yao Yao's jealous. Yushu said. Bullshit. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. I'm just feeling sorry for Xiao. She's training, and you're here hitting on girls. Lin Yi finally understood why Meng Yao was so angry. She'd misunderstood him and Xinyan. Xinyan caught a cold. I'll give her a massage so she doesn't need to go to the hospital for an injection. Lin Yi said, because there are many people outside, I chose to do it in the car. Lin Yi explained. Of course, this was only for Meng Yao. If it were someone else, Lin Yi wouldn't even bother explaining. Meng Yao knew that Lin Yi wasn't someone who liked to lie. If he said that, then it had to be true. He'd admitted it when he brought Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao back, and it didn't matter if Meng Yao wanted it or not. Lin Yi had done it, and he wouldn't hide anything. So, Lin Yi and Xinyan were probably misunderstood by her. With that thought, Meng Yao calmed down and looked at Xinyan. She realized that although Lin Yi's hand was inside Xinyan's shirt, it was on her back. Xinyan's bra was still on her body, and there were no signs of her pants being taken off or undone. It seemed like Lin Yi was really treating Xinyan. "I'm sorry. I misunderstood you guys. I was just worried about Xiao Xiao. I'm sorry." Book Ocean Pavilion. Meng Yao was a little awkward. It'd be fine if it was just Lin Yi, but the problem was that she'd misunderstood Xinyan as well. The two of them weren't familiar with each other, and it wasn't right for them to make such a big mistake. Wang Xinyan didn't think that Meng Yao would apologize immediately after realizing her wrongdoing. This was out of her expectations. Although there was nothing going on between her and Lin Yi, letting a boy massage her body was a very ambiguous thing to do. She felt a little guilty. Xinyan would have never imagined letting a boy touch her body before, but it was so natural now that she was with Lin. She felt like she was having an affair, as if she was a girl who didn't have any self-respect, and letting a boy touch her like that. Not only did she not feel conflicted, but it actually felt good. Xinyan knew that it was because of Lin Yi's skill in massaging, but it also proved that she didn't mind Lin Yi doing it. Even if Meng Yao were to scold her, Xinyan wouldn't say a word. "It's nothing. I know Xiao Xiao. I'm just good friends with Lin," Xinyan explained subconsciously. "And, if that's the case, you guys can continue." Although Meng Yao felt that Lin Yi touching Xinyan's body was inappropriate, she didn't stop him when she thought that Lin Yi was treating a patient. After all, when she was poisoned, she took off her clothes and let Lin Yi treat her, and what was even more embarrassing was that she peed on Lin Yi's face. She and Lin Yi were even worse, but weren't she and Lin Yi friends? What Meng Yao didn't know was that Xinyan had already let Lin Yi see her naked, and that she peed on Lin Yi as well. Who knew what she would think if she knew? "Oh, Shield bro, I've got a cold too. You should touch Shu later, give her a massage." Yushu was curious why Xinyan felt so good just now, even moaning happily. She wanted to give it a try. "Shu!" Meng Yao grabbed Shu's ear and pulled her to the side, closing the car door for Lin Yi and Xinyan. Xinyan was a little speechless at Yushu. Wasn't this girl a little too open? How could he say such a thing in public? But she was a girl who dared to love and hate, stronger than she was. Xinyan couldn't help but smile bitterly at the thought of her own life and her engagement. With Meng Yao and Yushu outside, Xinyan didn't dare to moan anymore. She bit her lips and endured the pleasure, continuing to enjoy Lin Yi's massage. She didn't know why, but Xinyan felt a little excited. Was it because Meng Yao and Yushu were standing outside the car? Ah! Xinyan's mind wandered, and she couldn't keep her mouth shut. She didn't want to hold it in anymore, though. Once was the same thing, twice wasn't much. She'd get used to it after the third time. Because they were close, Xinyan's moans traveled into Meng Yao and Yushu's ears. "Yao Yao, listen, that fox Wang seems to be having a good time," Yushu said. "Don't give people random nicknames." Meng Yao frowned. She knew that Xinyan was moaning because of Lin Yi's massage, but was it really that good? "Oh," Yushu said, "but I think she's interested in Shield bro. Xiao Xiao already told him to find a big wife, so why should we care?" Meng Yao shook her head, remembering Xiao Xiao's words. "Oh, even if he wants to find a big wife, we need to keep an eye on him. Even if Fox Wang wants to be Shield bro's big wife, she'd have to please us first. We need to keep an eye on Xiao Xiao," Yushu said. Chapter 1926. Yeah. Meng Yao's eyes lit up. Xiao Xiao telling Lin Yi to find a main wife wasn't wrong, but she and Shu had to help her check as well. Even without Xiao Xiao, they still had to complete Tang Yun's request. Inside the car, Xinyan felt more and more comfortable. It was as if she was going to fly into the sky, and she was sweating as well. She had to admit that treating a cold like this was a pleasure, 1,000 times better than getting in 4 drip. "I'm done." Lin Yi finished the massage. Lin Yi had wanted to use the needles, but Lin Yi threw them into his backpack after dealing with the 2 drug dealers. His backpack was in the dorm now, and Lin didn't bother going back to get it. For a cold like this, there was no difference between massage and needles. Ah, it's done? It was only then that Xinyan realized that she was drenched in sweat, and that her clothes were all wet. But she did feel refreshed, and the dizziness she'd been feeling before was gone. She didn't want to leave, though. She felt like the treatment was going a little too fast. But she cursed herself for being shameless. Was she craving the feeling of Lin Yi's hands massaging her body? Xinyan's face was a little unreadable, and Lin Yi was a little confused. Why do you look a little weird? Am I not completely healed? Xinyan wanted to say, you're not healed? Check me again, but she didn't dare to do that. She felt that what she'd done these past few days had already crossed the line, even more so than anything she'd done since she was young. If she continued like this, wouldn't she become a bad girl? I'm healed, I'm healed. I'm just sweating a little and I'm a little hot. I need to cool down. Xinyan said quickly. Book Ocean Pavilion. Net. Cool down? That won't do. Stay in the car and don't go out. Wait until the sweat is gone before you go out. Otherwise, you will catch a cold again. Lin Yi said. Okay, you go do what you need to do then. I'll be fine in the car, Xinyan said. Okay, then I'll leave first. Call me anytime if you need anything. Lin Yi nodded. Since Xinyan's illness was cured, there was no point in him staying here any longer. Thanks, Xinyan said. What's there to thank? We're comrades. Lin Yi laughed. Yeah, we're comrades in arms. Xinyan said with a smile. Yeah, she and Lin Yi were comrades in arms. What was there to be so particular about? Lin Yi got off the car and nodded to Miss and Shu. Okay, let's go. Okay, Faubert said that he's inspecting the market in Donghai. Dad wants to expand his business here so that Pringzhan Industries can grow and see us more often, Meng Yao said. Faubert said that we'll call him when we get home and he'll come over. Then let's go back and wait for him now. Right, did you tell Grandma, son? Let her prepare some food and we'll eat at home tonight, Lin Yi said. I already told Grandma, son, and she's probably preparing it already, Meng Yao said. Right, Lin Yi, why are you still wearing the uniform from the military training? Oh, the previous set of clothes was dirty and I didn't have time to wash it, so I didn't change it, Lin Yi said. Meng Yao nodded and didn't say anything. The three got in the car, and Lin Yi drove back to the Shueshang district. As expected, when they got back to the villa, Grandma Sun was busy in the kitchen. The fragrance from the kitchen made people salivate. Grandma Sun is really good, her cooking is even better than those chefs in the hotels. Meng Yao felt that it was really a happy thing to have Grandma Sun as a housekeeper here. Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi was also very confused about this. Grandma Sun was a scavenger, how could she have such cooking skills? This was really a strange thing. But the most important thing was that Grandma Sun's memory of the past was a little blurry. She couldn't remember the past, so Lin Yi knew nothing about her background. But one thing was certain. From all the signs, Grandma Sun should be a person with a story, but for some reason she lost her memory. Although she lost her memory, she didn't lose her cooking skills. It was probably an instinct. Of course, Lin Yi didn't deliberately ask about Grandma Sun's past, nor did he try to help her recover her memory. Everyone had their own secrets and difficulties, and he didn't want to delve into it. What if it was a memory that Grandma Sun didn't want to remember? Shaking his head, Lin Yi called Faubert. Little E, have you gone back? Faubert's voice came from the other side of the phone. Faubert, we're back. We're in the villa in the Shueshang district. Lin Yi said, where are you? I looked at the location of a few buildings that are being sold and took some pictures. I'm going to discuss with Mr. Chu to see if it's a suitable place to set up a branch company in Donghai City. Faubert said, it's almost done now. I'll go over now. N, you can go to the villa area in the Shueshang district. My jeep is parked outside the villa. It's that one, Lin Yi said. Okay, I'll go over now. Faubert said. After hanging up the phone, Grandma Sun came out with a plate of spicy chicken and placed it on the table. It was really delicious. It made people salivate at first glance. Mr. Lin, Miss Chu, when will the guests arrive? There are also a few hot dishes. It's better to eat them while they're hot. Grandma Sun asked. They'll be here soon. They're not guests. They're all family. It's the housekeeper from Songshan City. Grandma Sun, I told you before, Linny said. Ah. Grandma Sun heard that it was Faubert. She suddenly blushed. She didn't know what to do. Just like that? From her point of view, Lin Yi just said it casually last time. She would forget about it after a few days. She didn't expect Lin Yi to bring it up again. Grandma Sun didn't know what to do. She wasn't ready yet. Hee hee, it's just a meeting. There's no other meaning. Get to know each other first. You're both housekeepers. You need to get to know each other. Lin said. Yeah, Grandma Sunday Faubert is actually a very good person. Meng Yao also added. In fact, if Faubert and Grandma Sun could be together, it would be a good thing. Not only would Faubert not be lonely, but Grandma Sun would also have a companion. Plus, they were all family. There wouldn't be any problems. Chapter 1927. Shuhai Pavilion. Meng Yao didn't want to see Faubert stay single with her dad. Her dad's situation was different from Faubert's. Her dad left because her mom left, but Faubert's wife and daughter both died. How pitiful. I'll continue preparing. Granny Sun was too embarrassed to say anything else. She turned around and went into the kitchen again. Not long after, the sound of a car came from outside the courtyard. Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Shu guessed that it might be Faubert. They quickly went out to greet him, but it wasn't Faubert's car. It was a BMW X5M parked in front of the villa next door. Meng Yao glanced at the BMW X5M in surprise. Did someone move into this house? Meng Yao asked as she looked at the BMW X5M in surprise. There was an empty villa next to the villa Lin Yi bought. It was the luxuriously decorated villa they bought the other day. Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Shu only found out after they moved in. However, the villa wasn't sold on the day they bought it. They didn't expect it to be sold so soon. The person in the BMW was probably the owner of the villa. No matter what, since they were out, they couldn't just ignore their new neighbors. After all, they were going to live together in the future. So Meng Yao decided to greet them. It was a matter of politeness. As for whether they could get along in the future, that was a matter of the future. After the BMW X5M turned off, a beautiful girl and a shy boy got out of the car. Lin Yi frowned slightly. These two people were the brother and sister he met at the real estate agency that day. They wanted to rent a house. However, they actually rented a villa. But Lin immediately rejected this idea. How could such a luxuriously decorated villa be rented out casually? After all, decorations would wear out with use. If this house was rented out for a few years, the cost of the decorations would be greatly reduced. The rent wouldn't even cover the cost of the decorations. So the only possibility was that this villa was for sale. These two siblings actually bought a villa. The difference between before and after was a bit too big, especially when the beautiful girl's eyes flashed when she was at the real estate agency. It was still fresh in Lin Yi's mind. Lin Yi didn't know this pair of siblings back then, so he didn't pay too much attention to the beautiful girl's eyes. But now that they were here and became his neighbors, Lin Yi frowned again. Was it a coincidence or did they have other intentions? But Lin Yi was sure that he had never seen this pair of sisters before. If it was a coincidence, this pair of siblings was already at the real estate agency when he went to the real estate agency. Moreover, Lin Yi chose this real estate agency on the spur of the moment. There were many real estate agencies nearby, not just this one. So it was too far-fetched to say that this pair of siblings was waiting for him there. But if it wasn't a coincidence, what did they mean by buying a villa next to his house? Especially when the beautiful girl glanced at him back then, Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. Of course, maybe that glance was because he brought two beautiful girls into the real estate agency, and they wanted to buy a villa. Or maybe it was because they saw that he bought a villa, so they also bought a villa. They were a pair of rich siblings. In order to keep a low profile, they chose to rent a house. But when they saw their classmate buying a villa, they didn't care anymore. Similarly, they also bought a villa. This was the most reasonable explanation. The girl seemed to have noticed that someone was looking at them and looked over at Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yushu. She was a little surprised to see Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yushu, but she nodded at them and walked over. When the beautiful girl bought the villa, She only wanted to buy a villa that was closer to her house. She definitely didn't expect these two villas to be neighbors. Only when she moved in today did she realize that they lived next door. What a coincidence! She didn't expect to become neighbors. The beautiful girl said to Lin Yi and the others generously. What a coincidence! Lin Yi said faintly, didn't you want to rent a house that day? Why did you buy a villa? I wanted to rent a house, but when I saw that you bought a villa, I was a little tempted. So I also bought a villa. The beautiful girl said, I just didn't expect to become neighbors. Lin Yi saw that the beautiful girl's surprise didn't seem to be fake. He was a little confused. Could it really be a coincidence? The beautiful girl's surprise was naturally not fake. She was surprised that the two villas were actually neighbors. So that's how it is. You are also students of Donghai Industry University? Linist. Yes, my brother and I are both students. But after buying the villa, there was something at home that I didn't report. I took a day off to report tomorrow. Oh, Linny nodded and didn't ask anymore. My name is Chu Mengyao. She's Yushu. Donghai Engineering University's Economics Department. Mengyao heard that the siblings were also students of Donghai Engineering University. She immediately had a good impression of them. They were from the same school. It would be easy to get along with them. She could even visit them when she had nothing to do. Ah, you are from the Economics Department. What a coincidence! My brother is also from the Economics Department. The beautiful girl said, I'm Han Jingjing. This is my brother, Han Xiaochao. I didn't expect them to be from the same department. Han Jingjing asked, You're not from the Economics Department? Han Jingjing said, No. I'm from the Biology Department. Han Jingjing said, It's just a small major. I'm afraid you haven't heard of the Medicine Department. Lin Yi frowned slightly. The Medicine Department was a bit too much of a coincidence. But after Lin Yi confirmed that the two were not practitioners, he didn't continue to ask. Some things were useless even if he suspected them. He could only wait and see. Meng Yao was a little confused. Why would a girl apply for the Medicine Department? Lin Yi was also a Medicine Department. What a coincidence. You too? Han Jingjing looked at Lin Yi in surprise. You also like to study herbs? Lin Yi nodded. That's great. Let's learn more from each other in the future. I like to study herbs too. Han Jingjing said happily as if she had found a confidant. But before Lin Yi could say anything, a Bentley drove over. It was Faubert's car. Lin Yi nodded at Han Jingjing. After hearing Han Jingjing and her brother's names, he was even more sure that he didn't know these two people. Even when he was on missions before, he had never heard of these two people. Okay, we need to go tidy up the villa too. Han Jingjing said as she opened the trunk of the car and took out some blankets and daily necessities. It seemed like she was going to buy some things. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Target equals Unfight. Chapter 1928. This was one of the weakest points on the human body, and hitting it would cause a person to faint or even die. What Chi-Chi wanted to do was to hit it in one hit. Pang! A dull sound rang out, and Chi-Chi actually hit Nai Peo's neck. Chi-Chi didn't dare stay long after the hit, and quickly retreated to the side. On the other side, Yubing wanted to keep the Zhuang brothers busy, but he realized that they didn't seem to have any intentions of doing anything. Evidently, they were very confident in Nai Peo. But in Lin Yi's eyes, there was a flash of worry. After Chi-Chi hit Nai Peo, he didn't seem to be affected at all, as if he wasn't affected at all. In the next moment, Lin Yi suddenly felt a strong wave of qi coming from his palms, rushing into his body and sending him flying. Lin Yi's body landed heavily on the ground, his organs churning, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. But as bad as it looked, his injuries weren't that serious. He'd used Nai Peo's qi to fly out the moment he sensed that something was amiss. Otherwise, he'd be even more injured if he'd taken the attack head-on. You're not afraid of physical practitioners? Lin Yi wiped the blood from his mouth as he stood up from the snow, sighing. It seemed like his first plan had failed. Nai Peo wasn't afraid of physical practitioners at all. You think I only know how to absorb qi from spiritual practitioners? Idiot! Nai Peo looked at Lin Yi as if he was looking at an idiot. No wonder you came looking for trouble with me so confidently. You thought you had a trump card to deal with me? You must have eaten too many stupid pills. Who told you that physical practitioners could deal with me? If I were to be defeated by a mere physical practitioner, then I wouldn't even need to show my face anymore. I've underestimated you, Lin Yi said with a self-mocking smile. Ha! Lin Yi, to tell you the truth, my mental cultivation method is omnipotent. Not only can it absorb other people's true qi, but it can also transform other people's attacks into true qi when they enter my body, including the attacks of external experts. Do you know how I cultivate? I often injure myself all over so that I can improve my strength. Plus, even poisons don't work on me. I can convert them all into qi. Nai Peo said proudly, you haven't learned how to convert energy, have you? All kinds of energy could be converted into each other. Ha! Let me tell you, in front of me, you are simply too weak. If I were in a novel, I would be the main character with a halo and a golden finger, while you are just a supporting character for me to trample on. Ha! Lin Yi was shocked, not because Nai Peo wasn't afraid of physical practitioners, but because Nai Peo's practitioner's arts were very similar to his own art of dragon mastery. Both of them were omnipotent energy conversion arts. The only difference was that Lin Yi's arts could convert the energy in the jade space into other types of energy, but Nai Peo's was the opposite. He could convert all the energy in the outside world into his own true qi. Between the two, there was actually a similar effect. Lin Yi didn't think that Nai Peo would have this kind of luck, training in such a strong practitioner's arts. Your practitioner's arts are very strong. Both physical and spiritual? So you're saying that even if I don't touch you and attack you with weapons, you can still convert my true qi for your own use? Linist. Of course. Nai Peo laughed. Today, I'll let you know the truth before you die. I'll tell you the truth, I'm invincible under Earth class, the #1 under Earth class. Unless it's an early Earth class physical or spiritual master, they're nothing in front of me. It seems like Pinliang didn't choose the wrong follower after all. You're very strong. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Finding a physical practitioner to deal with you was my first plan, but it seems like it's useless now. Instead of directly touching your body, I will use my weapon to attack you. This is my second plan, but it seems that it has failed again. My third plan was to use poison, but you're not even afraid of poison. You really are invincible. It seems like all three of my plans have failed. Ha! I told you, I'm the main character of this story. What are you? You're just an ant, trying to deal with me with a few useless plans? Are you dreaming? Nai Peo heard Lin Yi admit defeat and was very pleased. But today, I won't kill you, I'll make sure you lose all your strength again. I'm keeping you alive so that Liang Bro can kill you with his own hands. Hearing that all three of Lin Yi's plans had failed, Yu Bing and Chi-Chi's faces turned nervous and disappointed. This Zhang Nai Peo was too strong, wasn't he? It was beyond their imaginations. Lin Yi's three plans were all useless against him. Is that so? But I've always felt like I'm the main character, right? Lin Yi suddenly spoke as he reached out with his right palm, slapping towards Nai Peo, his qi bursting out of his body as he channeled his practitioner's arts. Huh. You're still trying to act cool in front of me? Nai Peo didn't expect Lin Yi to initiate an attack at this point. He even channeled his practitioner's arts. Wasn't he looking to die? Nai Peo smiled coldly as he raised his right hand, ready to receive Lin Yi's palm and suck all the qi out of his body. Since you want to be the main character so much, I'll let you be the main character today, but only for one chapter. I'll let you have more screen time and die a horrible death. Ha! Bang! As he spoke, Lin Yi and Nai Peo's palms collided, but the next moment, Nai Peo realized that Lin Yi had stopped channeling his practitioner's arts. There was no qi on his palm again. HM? What are you doing? Nai Peo paused as he prepared to use his qi to send Lin Yi flying again. But then, Lin Yi's qi surged towards him like a tsunami. Nai Peo paused, but started laughing. Ha, I get it. You want to attack me when I'm not channeling my wasp absorption arts, right? So what if I am? Lin Yi asked. Chapter 1929. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1941. Falbert's wife Lin glanced at the BMW's license plate and model. It was the latest American model this year. It hadn't been released in the country yet, so it had to have been imported not too long ago. The license plate, too, was the latest from East Box. It was obvious that it was a new car. He couldn't tell who the siblings were from the car. However, to be able to afford a villa and an X5M, this pair of siblings must be very rich. Yao Yao Shu. Falbert got out of the car and smiled when he saw Lin Yi and the others. He hadn't seen them for half a month. Falbert heard that the military training was over, so he rushed over. Falbert, you've been quite energetic recently. It seems like everything in Songshan is going well, Lin Yi smiled. Falbert was no longer depressed. He looked refreshed and energetic. Yeah, Pengzhan Industries is on the right track and Mr. Chu has changed his business philosophy. Perhaps Pengzhan Industries will welcome a rapid growth. Falbert said, but it's all thanks to E. Because Uncle Fu also saw that there were neighbors moving things over there, he didn't say much and didn't say much. Falbert, the food is ready and the people are ready. We're just waiting for you. Meng Yao looked at Falbert mischievously. The people are ready as well? Falbert paused and remembered what Lin Yi said before. He shook his head helplessly. I'm already so old. I don't have those kinds of thoughts anymore. Thank you for your kindness. I've thought about it carefully. I still can't forget my wife, so, although Falbert didn't finish his sentence, Lin Yi and the others understood what Falbert meant. He didn't want to remarry yet, so it was better to let it go for now. Alright, let's just get to know each other as normal friends. You're the housekeeper of Songshan, and Grandma's son is the housekeeper of Dongheng. You'll have more chances to communicate with each other in the future, Lin Yi said. Okay, even if you didn't mention it, I have long wanted to visit this Miss Sunday. Thank her for taking you in. Falbert said. As they spoke, the four of them walked into the villa. Grandma's son had just placed the last hot dish on the table. Seeing that they had arrived, she immediately greeted them warmly. Mr. Lin, Miss Chu, the guests are here? Dinner is ready. When Falbert heard Grandma's son's words, the smile on his face froze. He raised his head in disbelief and looked at Grandma Sunday. At that moment, it was as if he had been struck by lightning. He looked at Grandma's son and was so moved that he couldn't speak. Time had changed her nirvana, the wind and frost had aged her appearance, but Falbert recognized the person in front of him at a glance. It was the woman he had been dreaming about, his wife, Sun Luoyue. It's her? She didn't die? She had been in Songshan all this time? Then why didn't she look for him? He was considered a famous person in Songshan. Although he didn't have as much exposure as a celebrity, he would always be accompanying Chu Pengzhan in some of Songshan's business newspapers. Falbert, this is Grandma's son. Lin Yi introduced. He was about to introduce Falbert to Grandma's son when he turned around and saw Falbert's stunned expression. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. Falbert? Falbert, what's wrong? Grandma's son was also a bit confused. What was wrong with this person? Why did he stare at him the moment he entered? Why was he stunned? Although Grandma's son knew that she had dressed up for the past few days and had some charm, she was definitely not a great beauty. How could an old woman move a man's heart? Besides, she also knew Falbert's identity. It could be said that in Pengzhan Industries, Falbert was only below one person but above tens of thousands of people. With this kind of identity, what kind of beauty couldn't he find? Why would he like her? So, although Grandma's son heard Lin Yi's matchmaking, she didn't care at all. Since this person didn't like her, then what did this look mean? However, Grandma's son also knew that this person should be closer than her, Lin Yi, and Chu Mengyao, so she didn't show any dissatisfaction. However, although Grandma's son was confused, she could feel the deep love in Falbert's eyes. This made Grandma's son feel very strange. Could it be that he fell in love with her at first sight? Luo Yu, is that you? Falbert raised his hand nervously. His voice was trembling and his breathing became very rapid. Grandma's son looked at Falbert in confusion. Luo Yu? Who was Luo Yu? This name seemed a bit familiar. Had she heard of it before? Grandma's son shook her head again. She couldn't remember. Seeing Grandma's son's puzzled gaze, Falbert's heart sank. Although, after so many years, the person in front of him was no longer that young and beautiful girl, but Faubert was sure that she was his wife, Sun Luoyu. This was a feeling of closeness that came from the heart. I'm she. For the first time in many years, Li Fu said his real name, but he didn't care. The people standing around were all his closest people. No one would harm him. Moreover, Lin Yi was the person who saved his life many times. At this moment, Lin Yi also found out that Li Fu's real name was Shi. Li Fu, Shi, it was just two words turned upside down to form a name. Hearing the two words Shi, Grandma Sun's face finally showed a slight change, but then, Grandma Sun's eyes became blank, as if she was recalling something, but also seemed inexplicable. After a while, she shook her head and said, I seem to have known you before, but I don't remember anything. You know who I am? At this moment, Lin Yi saw Faubert's expression. He could roughly guess who Grandma Sun was to Faubert. He just sighed. This world was sometimes very big and sometimes very small. In the same city for so many years, but there was no interaction. But Grandma Sun went with them to the East Sea, and they actually met. Ah, life is a drama made up of coincidence and fate. You are Sun Luoyu, my wife. Faubert looked at Grandma Sun and said anxiously. Ah. Meng Yao and Yushu didn't know much about Faubert's background, so they didn't react as fast as Lin. Only at this moment, when Faubert said this, did they look at Faubert and Grandma Sun in shock. Grandma Sun was Faubert's dead wife? Grandma Sun was fine, so she didn't die. But looking at Grandma Sun, she didn't seem to remember anything. Me? Your wife? Grandma Sun's eyes widened in shock. My name is Sun Luoyu? Chapter 1930. Grandma Sun didn't think that Faubert would lie to her, because this kind of trick was used by young men to pick up girls. At their age, wasn't it ridiculous to use this kind of trick? And with Faubert's identity, there was no need for him to make up this kind of lie. // That's right. Faubert nodded and said, there is a mole under your right armpit, and on your left calf, there is a 10-centimeter long scar. Although Grandma Sun knew that Faubert didn't seem to be lying, but at this time, when she heard Faubert say the characteristics of her body, she was still very surprised. Could it be that what he said was true? Was she really his wife? Naturally, Grandma Sun knew about the mole under her armpit, but she didn't know where the scar on her calf came from. She couldn't remember it at all, but Grandma Sun always wore long clothes and pants, so it was impossible for her to expose these two places. Even Meng Yao and Yushu, who lived with her, didn't know about it, so how could Uncle Fu know? Sure enough, it's really you. Although Faubert was confident before, at this moment, seeing Grandma Sun's expression, Faubert's heart relaxed. It was her, no mistake, his wife. For a moment, Faubert was filled with emotions, and tears flowed down his old face. How many years had it been? How many times had he seen her in his dreams? Although she was younger and more beautiful than she was now, those were all illusions. When he woke up from the dream, it was all in vain. Although the current Grandma Sun was no longer youthful and beautiful, it was real in front of him. And what Faubert cared about was not her beauty, but this feeling. Even if she was disfigured, crippled, or even turned into a vegetable, Faubert would still be by her side, until the end of time. I'm your wife? How come I don't remember? Grandma Sun looked at Faubert's excited look, and it didn't seem fake at all. But she had no memory at all. She only vaguely remembered that there seemed to be such a person in the depths of her memory. Faubert nodded heavily. Uncle Fu, Grandma Sun, I don't think we should just stand here. Let's eat something and talk. Linny sighed. It seemed like things were getting a bit awkward. It wasn't as simple as he thought. By a freak combination of factors, he wanted to find an old partner for Faubert, but he found his first wife instead. But Grandma Sun had lost her memory. However, Lin Yi could feel it clearly. Grandma Sun was not a cultivator, but according to Faubert, she should also be a cultivator. Sun Jingyi was also a cultivator, but the Sun family's internal energy cultivation method was very strange. It was a supplementary cultivation method, and it had nothing to do with strength. It was impossible to see through one's strength. However, on Sun Jingyi's body, if he didn't look carefully, Lin Yi could still feel the fluctuations of qi. When he was a golden class, this feeling was almost non-existent, but after he reached the mystic class or even the earth class, he could still find some characteristics of a cultivator on Sun Jingyi's body. But these characteristics on Grandma Sunday, not a single one. If it wasn't for Falbert being so sure that this person in front of him was his former wife, Lin, he couldn't believe it. This person was the Sun family's genius who could help Falbert recover his qi and heal his injuries. Yes. Look at me, I'm so excited. Falbert was a little apologetic. Everyone hasn't eaten yet, right? Let's eat together and talk. Falbert naturally sat together with Grandma Sunday. Mingyao's heart was full of emotions, but Yushu was curiously looking at Falbert and Grandma Sunday. Lin had doubts in his heart, but he didn't ask. After sitting down, Falbert couldn't wait to put a mouthful of food into his mouth, but after eating, he said, "Not bad, this is the taste. How many years has it been? I've always missed this taste, Luoyin. I finally see you again." Grandma Sun also saw the deep love and longing in Falbert's eyes, but she really couldn't remember at all. In her memory, although she had a husband and a daughter, she didn't know where they went. Am I really your wife? What exactly happened to us? Grandma Sun didn't think that Falbert was lying to her. She was just a scavenger before she became Lin Yi and Mingyao's housekeeper. With this identity, she was definitely not good enough for Falbert. Even now, she felt that there was a gap between the two of them. Plus, she was an old woman now, not beautiful at all. Falbert's love came from his heart, and he didn't want anything from her. So in her heart, Grandma Sun believed Falbert's words. While sighing that it was really a coincidence, she was also a little troubled. She couldn't remember anything. Falbert hesitated, but he didn't continue. "Let's eat first, I'll tell you after we eat. I don't want to ruin everyone's mood. What happened back then was a tragedy." Now that the family was sitting around the table, it was time to eat happily. Why talk about the sad past? Besides, now that he had found his wife, there was no need to talk about those sad things. The only regret was that his daughter was missing. She was so young, she was probably killed by the enemy. And his own master, although he was a sky-class master, how could the enemy let him go? In order to protect himself, he might have died under the enemy's encirclement. "Yeah, let's eat first." Lin Yi knew about Falbert's background. He knew that if he said it now, he was afraid that everyone wouldn't be able to eat, so he quickly said, "Falbert, you met Grandma Sun again. It's the will of the heavens, it's a happy occasion, let's drink together and celebrate." But although Falbert thought about his daughter and master, to be able to find his wife was already a blessing in disguise. It was indeed a happy occasion, so he immediately nodded and agreed. This meal, the atmosphere was very strange. Falbert kept putting food into Grandma Sun's bowl, but this meal was cooked by Grandma Sun, Lin Yi, Chu Mengyao, and Yushu wanted to say something, but they didn't know what to say. This was a matter between Falbert and Grandma Sun. They couldn't say anything. On the other hand, although Falbert looked very happy and excited, he didn't know how to say some words to Grandma Sun. He didn't know where to start. Although Grandma Sun was lucky to escape from the massacre that year, his daughter, master, were not spared. If he told Grandma Sun about it, would she be very sad? To be continued. Vote recommendation, monthly vote. Chapter 1931. Date, October 20th. Chapter 1943, remembered? But these things had to be said. If he didn't say it, Falbert wouldn't be able to make Grandma Sun believe that he was her husband. Even if Grandma Sun did believe him, he wouldn't be able to hide it from her. Please remember, so Falbert tried to think of a way to express himself in a roundabout way to lessen Grandma Sun's sadness. "Falbert, Grandma Sun, you guys must have a lot to talk about. How about this? You guys go to the room and talk alone. Yao Yao, Shu, and I will watch TV for a while." Lin said. The food was almost finished, and everyone looked like they didn't have much appetite. So Lin Yi suggested, "Okay." Falbert had wanted to talk to Grandma Sun alone for a long time. If it wasn't in front of everyone, Falbert wouldn't know how to say it. It wasn't that he wanted to hide it from Meng Yao and the others, but there were some things that he didn't know how to say. "Mr. Fu, come with me to my room," Grandma Sun sighed. Grandma Sun sighed. What happened today was too strange and she couldn't accept it. However, she could see that Uncle Fu didn't seem to be lying, but she couldn't convince herself to believe him. Sun. Miss Sun, you don't need to call me Mr. Fu. My name is Li Fu now. You can call me Li Fu. Faubert didn't want to reveal his identity. He didn't want his enemies to find out. Okay. Mr. Li Fu. Grandma Sun paused. No wonder she felt this name was familiar when Meng Yao sent the money. Li Fu Su. Wasn't this reversed? Could it be that the name, she, really occupied a large proportion in his heart? Walking into the room with Faubert, Lin Yi sat on the sofa. Meng Yao and Yushu sat down as well. Although the TV was turned on, all three of them were focused on Faubert. They didn't have the mood to watch TV at all. Yao Yao sis, do you think Grandma Sun is Faubert's wife? Yushu asked. It should be. I've never seen Faubert lose his composure like that before, and his eyes don't look fake either. There's no reason for him to lie. Oh, that's strange. Why doesn't Grandma Sun remember Faubert? Could it be that she also took the forget? Yushu suddenly realized that Meng Yao was glaring at her with a murderous glare. She quickly shut her mouth. She originally wanted to ask if Grandma Sun had also taken the senseless grass, but she suddenly remembered that Lin Yi was beside her. If she said it, then Lin Yi would definitely ask about it, and it would be hard to explain. Moreover, thinking about it carefully, Grandma Sun's situation was different from Lin Yi's. She didn't remember anything, not just Faubert. Yeah, Grandma Sun might have lost her memories for some reason. Meng Yao quickly followed up on Yushu's words. Forgot some things? Lin Yi frowned. He felt that he had forgotten some things after going crazy, but he didn't know what it was exactly. It was probably something related to Xiao, something about the first wife? With that thought, Lin Yi asked, Yao Yao, I seem to have forgotten some things as well. It's about my first wife. Who is she? Meng Yao was about to explode. She wanted nothing more than to kick Yushu into outer space. What the hell was this girl talking about? Wasn't she just waiting for Lin Yi to ask her about it? Wasn't she just waiting for Lin Yi to ask questions? But she couldn't blame Shu in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi would be even more suspicious if she did. So Meng Yao only glared at Shu before turning to Lin Yi and acting surprised. You don't remember the first wife? I don't. What's going on? Lin Yi asked. It's like this. Yushu quickly told Lin Yi about Xiao's idea. One had to admit that Shu was quite eloquent. Lin Yi believed her after her vivid description. So you're saying that I didn't like Xiao, that's why I took her in as a small wife, and she agreed to let me find a first wife? Lin Yi thought about it. He and Xiao didn't really have a good relationship. The girl was always messing with him, and he'd messed with her a couple of times. He only got together with her because he heard that she was sick. Then what Yushu said was possible. And with Xiao's personality, she was always encouraging him to play with her, so what she said was true, so he didn't have a first wife, and he was just looking for one? If that was the case, then it made sense. But why did he feel like it wasn't complete yet? That's right, that's it. Yushu said. The truth is, Yao and I didn't know that Xiao had a terminal illness, so we kept pushing her aside. I said that Yao and I could play 3P with you, and Xiao didn't like it, so she wanted you to find a first wife to play 3P with us as well. Meng Yao didn't know what to say, but she let Yushu continue. After all, Yushu's story made sense, and Meng Yao didn't know what to say. And then, Lin Yi nodded. What Yushu said seemed to be in his memories, and something like that did happen before, so Lin Yi didn't suspect anything. But what Lin Yi didn't know was that Yushu was just putting the blame on Xiao for what happened to Tang Yun, and that it was Tang Yun who got Xiao to go against her and Yao, not Xiao who wanted a first wife. But with Yushu twisting it like this, Lin Yi felt that it really was the case. And then I looked for one, but before I could find one, Xiao and I got back together, and we became a prankster duo, and that was it. Yushu said. I see. Lin Yi nodded. I lost control and forgot some things, but now that you reminded me, I remember some things. It's not clear, but at least I know what's going on. Yeah, but Xiao told Yao and me before she left, saying that if you were looking for a first wife, Yao and I should help you check, and that you can't just bring any random woman back. Yushu started making up a story. Chapter 1932. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1944. Can't remember. Oh, I'll tell you guys if I want to. Please keep that in mind. Lin Yi nodded. Alright, let's not talk about that, let's talk about Faubert. Right, Lin Yi? You know about Faubert's background, right? What's going on? Can you tell me and Shu about it? Meng Yao was afraid that Lin Yi would start asking questions again, and so she quickly changed the topic back to Faubert. She was also very curious as to what happened between Faubert and Grandma Sunday. Lin Yi obviously knew about it from his expression at the dinner table. Alright. Lin Yi didn't have anything to do anymore. While Faubert talked to Grandma Sun, Lin Yi told Meng Yao and Yushu about Faubert's family. The Miss Face was a little sad when Lin Yi was done, and Shu was silent as well. The two were evidently affected by Faubert's tragedy. Lin Yi didn't interrupt them, and Lin Yi felt the same sadness when he heard Faubert's story. After a while, Meng Yao spoke up. I knew that Faubert had a sad past, but I didn't know it was this bad. Yeah, I didn't think that Faubert's daughter, and his Shifu. Yushu was showing her true self now. Luckily, he found Grandma Sun. That's a blessing in disguise. Yeah, as long as they can be together, they can spend the rest of their lives peacefully. Meng Yao nodded. But I don't know how Grandma Sun lost her memories, and if she can recover them? Yushu said. Meng Yao was so pissed that she wanted to kick Yushu's chubby boobs to death. What the hell was this about amnesia again? Lin Yi, your medical skills are superb. Do you have a way? Meng Yao changed the topic to Lin Yi's medical skills, not giving Lin Yi much time to think. I'll give it a try. Lin Yi couldn't guarantee anything. He would check it later. Not long after Lin Yi finished speaking, Faubert and Grandma Sun pushed open the door and walked out. Lin Yi saw that although Faubert's face was filled with relief, there was also some distress. Grandma Sun's face seemed to be filled with sadness and confusion. Faubert, how is it? Meng Yao asked. I told her everything, but she couldn't remember anything. Faubert smiled bitterly. I'm not sure if I'm Mr. Li Fu's wife, because I really don't remember anything. Grandma Sun said painfully. I can't remember anything, I have no memory at all, but I know that you guys wouldn't lie to me. Right? Faubert, when you and Grandma Sun got married, didn't you have a marriage certificate? Lin Yi suddenly asked. This was the most important piece of evidence. Although these Wulin people didn't really care about the rules of the common world, it was still possible for them to go through the motions. Yes, but we didn't even have time to save our lives when the whole family was annihilated. Where would we get the chance to take those things out? Faubert smiled bitterly. My identity as Li Fu was also registered by Mr. Chu. But there should be a record in the civil office, right? Wouldn't we know when we check? Lin Yi said. If it's registered in another province, I can ask Huaijuan or Lingshan to do it. It should be easier for them. That's right. Faubert's eyes lit up. Luoyue, when we got married, we took a picture too. There must be a record. We'll know when we check. Yeah. Grandma Sun believed Faubert's words, but she didn't mind confirming it if there was evidence. Lin Yi didn't waste any time, calling Huaijuan's number and telling him about the situation. Huaijuan agreed without hesitation, since it was a piece of cake for him to investigate a marriage registration. Not long after, Huaijuan sent an email to Lin Yi's phone. It was the record of Sun Luoyue and Xi's marriage. One had to admit that Huaijuan was very efficient. It was already time to get off work, but Huaijuan still got the record in a short amount of time. He passed the phone to Faubert and Grandma Sunday. Lin Yi said, It's here. Now, Grandma Sun, do you believe me? It's really like this. Grandma Sun looked at the record on the phone. A complicated expression appeared on her face. After all, what Faubert said was very sad, but Grandma Sun didn't have any memories of it. But now that her identity was confirmed, Grandma Sun's heart felt empty. Although she found her husband, her daughter and her husband's master were probably gone. This difference between happiness and sadness made her silent again. Grandma Sun, the dead are long gone. It's been so long, don't think about it. Now that we found Faubert again, isn't it a blessing in disguise? If it wasn't for fate, we might not have met again. Lin Yi said. Yeah. Grandma Sun nodded and sighed. She felt a little better. So, I was a practitioner and a member of the noble house, Sun? course. Falbert nodded. But now Grandma Sun's eyes showed a trace of confusion again. This feeling of not remembering anything was very depressing. She tried her best to remember the past. If she could remember the past, then she might know some things that Falbert didn't know, and that was the whereabouts of her daughter and master. If she didn't know these things, then it would be fine. But since she knew, Grandma Sun was naturally very eager to know the answer. She frowned as if she was trying hard to remember something, but to no avail. No, I still can't remember. I don't remember anything. There are some vague impressions, but I don't know what they are. Grandma Sun, are you remembering? Lineth. Yes, if you can remember what happened in the past, maybe you will have some clues about your daughter and master. You can also know a little about your enemy. Grandma Sun nodded and said, Grandma Sun, let me help you check it. Lin Yi didn't know what Grandma Sun meant. Although he wanted to help, if Grandma Sun didn't want to remember the tragic past, then Lin Yi wouldn't interfere. That was because it was not a happy thing for anyone. It would only make them more depressed and sorrowful. But Grandma Sun clearly wanted to remember what happened in the past and find some clues, so Lin Yi naturally had to find a way to help. Chapter 1933. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1945. The Cause of Amnesia, Part 1. Right? Lin Yi, you're a miracle doctor. Falbert was happy when he heard that Lin Yi wanted to help. Yes, Mr. Lin is a miracle doctor. I had a stroke with crooked mouth and eyes and rheumatism on my leg, but miracle Dr. Lin cured me instantly. Grandma Sun was full of confidence when she remembered that Lin Yi also cured her illness. I can only check whether it can be cured or not. I'll try my best. When Lin Yi cured Grandma Sun's crooked mouth and leg, he didn't check on Grandma Sun's other physical conditions. After all, time was limited and Lin Yi's goal was to cure Grandma Sun's crooked mouth and leg and then frame Zhening Jun. Okay, what do you need me to do? Grandma Sun asked quickly. Grandma Sun, just sit on the sofa and stretch out your hands, I'll check your pulse. Lin Yi could use his pure energy to check other people's body condition, so Grandma Sun didn't need to do anything, just relax. But Grandma Sun nodded and sat next to Lin Yi on the sofa and stretched out her hands. Lin Yi grabbed Grandma Sun's meridians and started to check her body condition with his pure energy. However, as soon as he started, his pure energy was blocked. Lin Yi found that most of Grandma Sun's meridians were destroyed and the rest were blocked by blood clots. Although it wasn't as serious as Yang Huaijuan, it was impossible for her to become a practitioner and practice pure energy. This situation was very similar to Falbert's. Falbert's meridians were also destroyed and he couldn't practice spiritual arts. It was the same for Grandma Sunday. In that case, Grandma Sun's crooked mouth and lame leg should not have been caused by a stroke or rheumatism, but by the blockage of her meridians. Although the two were blocked meridians and the treatment was relatively similar, the cause of the formation was completely different. Lin Yi didn't look at it carefully at the time, so he only cured Grandma Sun's crooked mouth and leg. He thought it was caused by a stroke, but now it seemed that it wasn't. However, this was not a problem for Lin. Lin Yi said to Falbert, Falbert, my silver needles are in my backpack at school. Go out and find a pharmacy to help me buy another box. Lin Yi could use his true qi to repair the broken meridians, but for the blood clots that had accumulated for many years, he would have to use silver needles to remove them. Because the blood clots were already necrotic, it was impossible to use true qi to remove them. I'll go now. Falbert quickly stood up and quickly ran out of the villa to buy silver needles. As for Lin Yi, he began to use his true qi to repair Grandma Sun's damaged meridians. Lin Yi was very familiar with repairing meridians. Grandma Sun didn't know how Lin Yi treated her, but she felt a warm and comfortable feeling throughout her body, as if her whole body was restored to life. Even Meng Yao and Yushu noticed the changes in Grandma Sun, because Grandma Sun's face was changing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The wrinkles from before were gone, and what replaced it was a smooth face. Grandma Sun seemed to be a few years younger in just a short period of time. Regarding this change, Lin Yi didn't find it strange. Grandma Sun's meridians were blocked, and naturally it had a serious impact on the metabolism of the human body. After repairing, it was normal for her to look radiant. Just like when Falbert's meridians were repaired by Lin Yi, he also seemed to be a few years younger. It was just helping Grandma Sun to repair her meridians, not increasing her strength, so Lin Yi was very familiar with it. Now that Lin Yi had practiced the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, it was a piece of cake for him to practice the first stage of the art of dragon mastery. His speed was also a lot faster than before, so very quickly, Grandma Sun's damaged meridians were repaired by Lin. Of course, Lin Yi didn't touch Grandma Sun's head yet. From Lin Yi's point of view, since Grandma Sun had lost her memory, then her head must have suffered some degree of injury, and the structure of the head was one of the most complicated parts of the human body, so Lin Yi had to wait for Falbert to buy the silver needles before he went to check and treat her. Very quickly, Falbert ran back. He didn't drive, he ran completely on foot. Although the pharmacy wasn't too far from the district, it was still 2 kilometers from the villa area. Plus, Falbert wasn't familiar with the road. To be able to come back in such a short time, it was obvious that he ran like crazy. He was very concerned about Grandma Sun's condition. Seeing Falbert sweating, Grandma Sun felt a burst of warmth in her heart. This man, it seemed like he loved her very much. Otherwise, as a practitioner, no matter how fast he ran, he wouldn't sweat so much. This sweat was obviously from anxiety. Little E, I don't have any silver needles. These are ordinary silver-coated needles. Do you think they'll work? Falbert took out a set of silver needles and placed it on the coffee table in front of Lin Yi, and said, if it doesn't work, I'll drive to a big pharmacy to buy more. Nowadays, there were fewer and fewer people who bought this kind of acupuncture equipment. The price of silver needles was very expensive, normal pharmacies wouldn't buy them. Silver-coated needles were already very good, but in Lin Yi's eyes, this thing was just a tool. The key was the use of qi, so the material didn't matter. Okay, I'll take this. Lin Yi nodded, opened the needle box, took out a few silver needles, and casually inserted them into Grandma Sun's body, but everyone present knew that it wasn't casual, but Lin Yi's technique was too brilliant, it had reached the level of flowing water. With the improvement of his strength, the use of silver needles with qi, Lin Yi didn't have the initial feeling of difficulty. When he was treating Lu Zhenhu, Lin Yi would be very tired after a set of acupuncture, but now, that feeling didn't exist anymore. Grandma Sun, don't think about anything now, I'll help you check the injury on your head. Lin Yi said, okay. Grandma Sun quickly closed her eyes, not daring to think about anything else. And Lin Yi began to use qi to carefully check the condition of Grandma Sun's head, but as he probed deeper, Lin Yi let out a surprised cry, huh? Hearing Lin Yi's exclamation, Falbert's face was slightly surprised, but he didn't dare to ask anything. He didn't know what happened to Lin Yi, so he could only carefully guard the side, waiting for Lin Yi's orders. The condition of Grandma Sun's head made Lin Yi feel very strange. It can be said that Grandma Sun's head was not injured, it was not like what Lin Yi thought. There was a blood clot pressing on the nerves or blocking the meridians, causing amnesia. Chapter 1934. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1946. The Cause of Amnesia, Part 2. Instead, in Grandma Sun's head, there was a strange ball of qi that was wrapping around a part of Grandma Sun's brain. This was the first time Lin Yi had seen something like this. Could it be that the qi had affected Grandma Sun's memory? However, under Lin Yi's investigation, although the qi was strange, it didn't seem to have any evil intentions. It didn't seem like it was purposely set up by a master, but it seemed to have naturally appeared. It was very comfortable in Grandma Sun's head, and there wasn't a single trace of repulsion. However, without being completely sure, Lin Yi didn't dare to touch the qi. After all, it was quite difficult for Lin Yi to force the fire qi out of Grandma Sun's head. Using the same method to force the qi out of Grandma Sun's head would be quite difficult. Moreover, the qi wasn't in Lin Yi's body, it was in Grandma Sun's body. This could lead to unpredictable dangers. Grandma Sun, there is a ball of qi in your head. It seems that it is wrapping around a part of your memory, but this situation is very strange. This is the first time I've seen something like this, so I need to think about it and do some research. Lin Yi said, I'll clear the blood in your body today. But Grandma Sun agreed without hesitation. On the other hand, Falbert's face turned pale. He knew Lin Yi's methods. If even Lin Yi said it was difficult, then it must be very difficult. However, Faubert didn't say much. He could only hope that Lin Yi could find a good way. Clearing the blood in Grandma Sun's body was much easier. After Lin Yi finished the acupuncture, he began to infuse qi into the needles to break the blood in Grandma Sun's meridians. This way, the blood could flow out through the needles. Sure enough, after half an hour, every needle on Grandma Sun's body was wrapped in a layer of black substance. It was obviously the poison in her body. Even though Faubert and Grandma Sun knew that Lin Yi was a miracle doctor, they were amazed by the situation. Silver needle detoxification. Shield bro is amazing. Yushu looked at the filth on the needle curiously. Shield bro, do I have some kind of poison in my body? Like fire poison? Maybe you can help me purge it? Shu, don't mess around. Don't disturb Lin. Mengyao was worried that Yushu would disturb Lin. Don't worry, it's over. Lin Yi pinched the last needle and released it. He smiled at Xiao Shu. You're not sick. Why are you queuing? Oh, just in case. Shield bro, can you help her check again? You can take off her clothes. Yushu said. Mengyao was speechless. Why did you have to come up with so many excuses if you wanted to take off your clothes for Lin Yi? Check my body? You don't have to take off your clothes. Just stretch out your hand and let me see. Lin Yi had no choice but to say. But. Yushu stretched out her hand. Lin Yi checked Yushu's pulse and shook his head. Shu, you are very healthy. You're not sick at all. I see, I don't need to purge the poison, Yushu said disappointedly. No need. Lin Yi checked Yushu and turned to look at the silver needles on Grandma Sunday. He felt that it was about time. Lin Yi quickly put away the needles and said, Grandma Sun, you can take a shower. You should be covered in filth. Okay. Grandma Sun also felt that her body was sticky and uncomfortable, so she quickly nodded. I'll help you rub. Faubert said subconsciously. This. Grandma Sun's face immediately turned red. Although she already knew that Uncle Fu was her husband, she still couldn't accept it for a while. Sorry, I didn't mean anything else. Faubert also realized that he was a little impatient. He really wanted to help. He didn't have any other thoughts. Grandma Sun didn't say anything. She quickly went back to her room to take a shower. Thank you so much, Uncle Fu said from the bottom of his heart. Faubert were family. I still don't know what's going on with the qi in Grandma Sun's head. I'll go back to my room and ask. Lin Yi said he wanted to ask Jiao Yazi. However, he couldn't just expose this secret. He couldn't just sit on the sofa for a while without making a phone call. Okay, go and ask. Faubert said quickly. After saying it, he felt that he was too anxious. He suddenly felt a little embarrassed. I'm a little too anxious. It's nothing. I'll go and call now. Lin Yi smiled. He understood Faubert's feelings. Back in the room, Lin Yi didn't delay. He went directly into the jade space and said to Jiao Yazi, Jiao Lao, I encountered a strange phenomenon today. Lin Yi told Jiao Yazi about Grandma Sun's situation. There's qi in her mind, but this qi doesn't have any evil intentions? And she lost her memory? After listening to Lin Yi's words, Jiao Yazi repeated Lin Yi's words. Then he said, Your situation, although I haven't encountered it before, I can make some guesses. What guess? Lin Yi asked quickly. As you said, she was a cultivator before she was injured and lost her memory. Then, that qi is very likely to be produced by her. Jiao Yazi said. Produced by herself? What does that mean? That is to say, Grandma Sun lost her memory? Lin Yi asked curiously. You can say that. Jiao Yazi said, This is a cultivator's instinct. Under certain circumstances, the body's potential is stimulated and the memory in the mind is wrapped with qi. Wrapping memory with qi? Why would she do that? Lin Yi was even more puzzled. There are two possibilities. The first is that when she encounters some kind of danger and her life is in danger, there is a piece of memory that she is reluctant to part with before she dies. This piece of memory will be wrapped by the true qi that stimulates her body's potential. This is the so-called magical reincarnation with memories. In my memory, a friend of mine who is a science geek once did research on reincarnation. This situation does not necessarily apply to cultivators. Even ordinary people may stimulate their potential at the last moment of their lives and wrap their precious memories in the stimulated true qi. Then, after they die, this set of memories wrapped in true qi will exist in the form of free electric waves. Chapter 1935. Date, October 20th Chap. 1947 is thoughtful. If someone's brainwave vibration frequency is similar to the vibration frequency of this memory, then it is possible that this brainwave will be attached to this person. This is also when some people suddenly discover that they have a lot of knowledge that they didn't know before, or the brainwave of this memory is strong enough to replace the original owner's thoughts. This is the legendary possession. Of course, this brainwave can also travel back to the past or to another world. This is the so-called rebirth and transmigration. Jiao Yazi said, 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates of pure TXT handwritten novels, ugh. Elder Jiao, I don't want to transmigrate yet, and I don't want to be reborn. Can you talk about the second possibility first? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. There really were scientists who wanted to research reincarnation? Then this scientist must be a great person. I'm just saying. It's impossible for you to transmigrate and be reborn. Do you think it's that easy? Even my scientist friend hasn't found a specific method to do it. Jiao Lao shook his head and said, the second possibility I'm talking about is that her family was destroyed. This is a sad past. She couldn't believe what happened in front of her, and she didn't want to believe it. So she wrapped this sad memory with her zhenqi, causing her to lose her memory. Obviously, this is the second possibility. Jiao Yazi said, and this possibility is quite common. It's not just her, other ordinary people will also have similar situations. This is commonly known as memory sealing. It's a person forcing themselves to forget a certain part of their memory. So, in other words, the zhenqi in Grandma Sun's head was produced by her? Linist. 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates of pure TXT handwritten novels. I'm not sure about this, but since your art of dragon mastery can convert zhenqi into universal zhenqi, you just need to let her produce a bit of zhenqi and compare it with the zhenqi in her head. Jiao Yazi said. The key is that she lost her memory. She doesn't remember practicing at all. Although her meridians are repaired, she doesn't remember the mantra. It's impossible for me to help her recover her strength. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I see. Then there's nothing I can do. Ask Li Fu if he knows, or if anyone else knows. Jiao Yazi shook his head and said helplessly, Okay, I'll go ask. Lin Yi nodded and walked out of the jade space, quickly returning to the living room. How is it? Faubert saw that Lin Yi came out so quickly and his heart sank. Was there no news? I asked. It might be like this. As he spoke, Lin Yi told Faubert about the second possibility that Jiao Yazi had mentioned. It seemed that this possibility was more likely. So you mean that Luo Yin sealed her memory? Faubert was surprised. Then, as long as we remove the zhenqi from her head, we can recover her memory? In theory, yes, but we're not sure if the zhenqi in Grandma Sun's head was generated by herself. Although it doesn't seem to have any bad intentions, there's always a chance. If something happens when we remove the zhenqi, the consequences will be unimaginable. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. If there really was a problem with the zhenqi, it could even explode. If Grandma Sun's had exploded, even if Lin Yi was the reincarnation of Zhang Liju, he wouldn't be able to do anything. How do we determine it? Uncle Fu was startled and asked in a somewhat puzzled manner. Grandma Sun's practitioner's mantra, do you have it? If you do, you can try to let her practice it again. If the zhenqi is the same as the one in her head, then I can confirm it. We can try to guide her to remove it, or when she reaches a certain level, she can refine the zhenqi on her own. Lin said, practitioner's mantra. Faubert smiled bitterly and said helplessly, I did have it before, but I didn't bring it with me when I left. Normal people can't practice House Sun's mantra, so I didn't purposely memorize it. House Sun? Does that mean that the practitioner's arts are the same as Grandma Sun's? Lin Yi's eyes suddenly lit up and asked. Yes, you mean? Faubert could more or less guess what Lin Yi meant. Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi nodded and said, she also practices House Sun's mantra. I just need to ask her for the mantra. Well, there's no need to go through so much trouble. I'll just check what her Zhenqi is like. That's great. Faubert heard that he found a way and was very happy, but his face suddenly tightened and said, oh right, little E, don't tell anyone from House Sun that you found Sun Luoyue, oh? Lin Yi was slightly stunned, but he quickly figured out Faubert's concerns. Faubert, you're afraid that your enemies will get the news and come looking for you? That's right. Faubert nodded and said, some things have to be guarded against. Although House Sun won't harm Luoyue, if the news is leaked, it won't be worth it. Okay, I won't say it, Lin said. While they were talking, Grandma Sun had finished her bath and walked out of the room. But at this moment, Grandma Sun's skin, temperament, and appearance all had a qualitative change. Grandma Sun's skin became fairer and more lustrous. The wrinkles on her face disappeared. If she was an old woman before, now she was a beautiful young woman. This change made Faubert surprised and happy. Although he wouldn't mind what Grandma Sun looked like, who didn't want their wife to be prettier? Faubert knew that this was all thanks to Lin. Grandma Sun was also a practitioner, so after her meridians were opened, she would naturally look younger. This was a very normal thing. That's amazing, Yushu said in surprise. I didn't expect Grandma Sun to be such a beauty. I can't call her Grandma Sun anymore, I have to call her Aunt Sun. Grandma Sun obviously noticed the changes in herself. She was surprised and happy. Before, although Faubert showed his love, Grandma Sun felt that she was too old compared to him. But after Lin Yi treated her, her body changed drastically. You can call me whatever you want. I'm already used to it. Grandma Sun smiled and said, I didn't expect Mr. Lin to be so powerful. Lin Yi, can practitioners not age? Meng Yao asked thoughtfully. Xiaxu. Chapter 1936. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1948. Speechless, not bad. Golden class masters can extend their lifespan. Mystic class masters can slow down the aging process. Earth class masters can slow down the aging process. And Sky class masters can maintain their youthful appearance forever. Lin Yi said, the moment you break through to Sky class, your appearance will never change again. What happens after Sky class? Yushu suddenly asked. Please remember, I don't know. Lin Yi shook his head. Meng Yao nodded thoughtfully. So, Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao wouldn't age at all? Meng Yao looked at Lin Yi and suddenly had the urge to become a practitioner. She wanted to become a Sky class master too. But, she also knew that some things could only be found by chance. It wasn't something she could get just because she wanted to, otherwise everyone would be a practitioner. Let's stop here for today's treatment. Tomorrow I'll contact Sun Jingyi and check on her qi, then check on Grandma Sun's qi, Lin Yi said. Faubert, it's getting late, you and Grandma Sun should rest early too. Meng Yao and Yushu went upstairs, and Lin Yi went back to his room, leaving only Faubert and Grandma Sun in the living room. Faubert felt a little awkward. I'll stay in the guest room. No need, since we are husband and wife, let's stay together. You can also tell me about the past. Grandma Sun hesitated and said shyly. But Faubert wasn't in a hurry to do anything, but he was very excited about Grandma Sun's acceptance. He quickly nodded happily. Seeing Faubert act like a child, Grandma Sun shook her head helplessly, but at the same time, she felt warm in her heart. The next morning, Faubert and Grandma Sun woke up early with a light smile on their faces. Although Grandma Sun hadn't recovered her memories yet, it was obvious that she had accepted Faubert. The two were busy preparing breakfast in the kitchen, and Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yushu smiled as they watched them. Faubert is so happy, it's the first time I've seen him so happy. Yushu's impression of Li Fu was that he was a serious man, not a single hair out of place. Even when he'd been staying in the villa and preparing breakfast for them in the mornings, he'd never looked this serious. He'd never smiled like this before. Uncle Fu found his wife, but where's my mom? Meng Yao's eyes were filled with a sense of loss and loss. Yao Yao, does Uncle Chu not know about your mom? Lin Yi asked. Daddy? He knows, but he won't tell me. He said I'm still young, some things are better left unknown. Meng Yao shook her head. Lin Yi paused. Could there be some sort of secret behind all this? But since Peng Zhan didn't want to talk about it, he didn't say much. Every family had their own, maybe something unexpected happened. After breakfast, Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yu Shu left the villa, ready to drive to school. Coincidentally, the siblings from the villa next door came out as well, obviously going to school as well. What a coincidence! You guys are going to school too? Han Jingjing greeted Lin Yi and the others. Yeah, you guys are going too? Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi was very indifferent to people he wasn't familiar with, especially when Han Jingjing's background made Lin Yi suspicious, so naturally, he didn't have a good tone. I see, why don't we get a ride with you guys? Han Jingjing suddenly said, my brother and I don't know where the buildings for economics and biology are. You guys are from those two departments? Sure, let's go together then. Meng Yao answered before Lin Yi could even reply. As far as she was concerned, they were neighbors and classmates, and they were in the same profession. It was only natural for her to help out if she could. It wasn't a big deal. Lin Yi didn't want to be too close to them, and wanted them to follow behind, but Lin Yi couldn't say anything since the miss had already agreed. Thank you so much. Han Jingjing and her brother got in the car and sat in the back with Meng Yao, while Yu Shu sat in the front passenger seat. Lin Yi started the car and drove to school. It wasn't far from here, so they arrived in no time. After getting out of the car, Meng Yao and Yu Shu brought Han Jingjing's brother to the economics department, leaving Lin Yi and Han Jingjing alone. Lin Yi locked the car and walked to the biology department without a word. Wait for me. Han Jingjing saw that Lin Yi was walking very fast and only caught up after 2 steps. Can you introduce me to the medicine department? There's nothing much to introduce. You don't know what you're applying for? Lin Yi said faintly. Han Jingjing pouted, feeling wronged. It's just a hobby of mine, but what rules are there? How many people are in the class? I don't even know that. Oh, there's a student rule in there after you get the textbook. You'll know the rules once you read it. As for how many people are in the class, you'll know. Lin Yi said. Han Jingjing wasn't expecting Lin Yi to brush her off like this. She pouted and followed behind Lin Yi, not too happy. Lin Yi was a little surprised at Han Jingjing's aggrieved face. Could it really be a coincidence? Judging from Han Jingjing's expression, a girl who showed her emotions on her face shouldn't have too many tricks up her sleeves. Was he thinking too much? But they hadn't walked far when Lin Yi heard Han Jingjing mumbling behind him. Ignore me, I'll kick you to death, I'll kick. Lin Yi was sweating. Wasn't this girl's temper a little too bad? She'd kick him to death if he ignored her, and Lin Yi didn't even get to hear more before he heard a scream. He turned to see Han Jingjing kicking a wooden stump, not expecting it to be so sturdy. Han Jingjing lost her balance and fell backwards, hitting her head on the ground with a thud. Lin Yi's eyes widened in shock. This girl, wasn't she a little too fierce? Falling backwards after kicking a wooden stump? Are you all right? Lin Yi walked over helplessly and asked, but he saw Han Jingjing biting her lip. Tears were swirling in her eyes as if they were about to flow out, and her hand was covering the back of her head. She was as pitiful as she could be. I don't need you to care about me even if I'm dead. Ooh. Han Jingjing suddenly cried, making Lin Yi speechless for a while. Did she change her face just like that? She wanted to kick me to death just now, and now she doesn't need to care? Target equals, Chapter 1937. However, Lin Yi was someone who could be persuaded but not cowed. Seeing Han Jingjing crying on the ground, he couldn't bear to see her like that. Before, Lin Yi had categorized her as one of the suspects, so Lin Yi didn't want to interact with her too much. But now, it seemed that things were different. This Han Jingjing didn't seem to have any ulterior motives. On the contrary, her brain seemed to be missing a cord. Alright, stop crying. Let me see how your head is. Lin Yi bent down and carefully moved Han Jingjing's hand away. He saw that the back of Han Jingjing's head was already swollen. He thought to himself, thank goodness this girl is young. If she was older, wouldn't she have a cerebral hemorrhage? Woo! It hurts. Han Jingjing's face was wet with tears. She was as miserable as she could be. At this time, many students looked over. After all, they were very curious. What was a girl crying on the ground for? There were also some students who didn't know and had a lot of imagination. They started to think and scold Lin. See that? This guy must have cheated on her and got found out by his girlfriend. Look at how pitiful his girlfriend is. This guy's eyes are really all the way to the soles of his shoes. Such a beautiful girlfriend, I'll definitely treasure her and worship her. Look at how he made her cry. Another guy said with righteous indignation. Although Lin Yi was far away, he was still in Earth class. His eyes and ears were naturally better than normal people. He heard the conversation clearly and was speechless. Lin Yi had to admit that Han Jingjing was a beauty. Her round face and big eyes made her look like a porcelain doll. This kind of beauty wasn't like the Miss Classic beauty, nor was it like Yushu's pure and playful beauty. It was more like a little Lolita's. Especially now, when she was crying pitifully, it made people feel sympathetic. Therefore, the comments on this side were almost one-sided in favor of Han Jingjing, and Lin Yi became the heartless villain. Although Lin Yi didn't care about all this, it would be troublesome if his nonsense reached the Miss ears. Lin Yi had no choice but to deal with it quickly. He reached out and touched the big bump on Han Jingjing's head, quickly channeling the art of dragon mastery to heal it. All right, stand up, let's go. Lin Yi said after curing Han Jingjing. It doesn't hurt anymore? Han Jingjing touched the back of her head and realized that the bulge was gone. She looked at Lin Yi in surprise and said, "Wow, you're amazing. How did you do it? Can you teach me?" Lin Yi frowned. Only now did he realize that he was a little reckless in a moment of desperation. He used pure energy to treat a neighbor he just met, and this neighbor was a curious baby, seemingly wanting to get to the bottom of it. We'll talk about it later. Let's go to the classroom now, there are people watching. Lin Yi said, "Oh, okay." Han Jingjing patted the dust on her pants and followed Lin Yi happily. What's going on? Han Jingjing had been crying non-stop a moment ago, but now she was smiling all of a sudden, leaving with Lin Yi as if nothing had happened. The onlookers didn't know what was going on. I know, that girl must have asked for something too much with her boyfriend. The boyfriend didn't agree, so she cried, and then when the boyfriend agreed, she smiled. A bystander said, "That seems to be the case. Could it be that she wanted to buy some cosmetics or clothes, and the boyfriend didn't buy it for her?" Another bystander nodded. "It's very likely." Another person also echoed, but no matter what, the people involved had left, and they also dispersed. Now that it was class time, it was okay to watch the fun, but it was not worth the loss if they delayed the class. Lin Yi, how old are you? When were you born? Why are you so powerful? Han Jingjing asked like a curious baby. I don't know, said Lin. He was also telling the truth. How would Lin Yi know when he was born? Would orphans know? How is it possible? You are lying, said Han Jingjing. I'm not lying. I'm an orphan. Lin Yi was afraid that she would cry again, so he answered. Han Jingjing was stunned. She didn't expect Lin Yi to answer like this. She was a little silent. After a long time she said, Sorry, I don't know. Then, since you are older than me, I will call you Brother Lin Yi. It's nothing. I'm used to it. Lin Yi said faintly, We are classmates. If you call me brother, what will others think? Why do you care about others? Han Jingjing asked with some doubts. Lin Yi was stunned. He didn't know how to answer Han Jingjing's words. Yeah, what? Asked Han Jingjing. Nothing. Do whatever you want. Lin Yi shook his head. This Han Jingjing's IQ seems to be a little lacking. Could it be that she became stupid from the fall just now? Okay. Han Jingjing nodded happily. From now on, you're my big bro Lin Yi. You have to teach me that miraculous healing skill. That? You can't learn it. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Why can't I learn it? Han Jingjing looked at him curiously. Because. Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Why do you have so many whys? Why don't you go see 100,000 whys? What's 100,000 whys? Han Jingjing asked curiously. Defeated by you. Lin Yi was speechless. How did you live this long? To live with my younger brother. Han Jingjing said seriously. Lin Yi pointed at the classroom in front of him. We're here. This is the medicine faculty. Thank you. Can I go in from school with Lin Yi big bro every day? Han Jingjing asked happily. We'll talk about it later. Lin Yi wanted to get rid of this 100,000 wise girl. Why did she have so much to say? Why didn't he see it before? If he knew she was so troublesome, he would have rejected her when she asked to be in the same car this morning. Lin Yi walked into the classroom and saw that the seats were the same as before. Xianxia was still sitting in the same seat. Lin Yi walked over and sat beside her. Han Jingjing, on the other hand, followed Lin Yi to Lin Yi's side. Han Jingjing's appearance attracted the attention of the students in the class. Xianxia was also a beauty in the school, but she was taken as soon as she arrived. The boys didn't have any ideas about her. Chapter 1938. But Han Jingjing was different. A beauty like her attracted the attention of all the bachelors. Even Yu Coiling Tiger took a few more glances at her. But Han Jingjing seemed to have come with Lin Yi. Why else would she be standing next to Lin Yi's seat? What else do you want? Lin Yi frowned as he looked at Han Jingjing. Where should I sit? Han Jingjing asked. Anywhere you want. Aren't there a lot of empty seats here? Lin Yi pointed at the empty seats around him. Then can I sit next to you, big brother Lin Yi? Han Jingjing looked at Lin Yi with a pitiful look. There's no space next to me. Can you sit in the aisle? Lin Yi rejected Han Jingjing's request immediately. He wouldn't be able to go to class if he agreed to it. Lin Yi wouldn't be able to do anything else either. Let this big sister sit there, and you sit in the middle. Wouldn't I be able to sit next to you then? Han Jingjing's logic wasn't wrong. No. Lin Yi didn't wait for Xianxia to say anything. Han Jingjing still wanted to say something, but Boss Bai walked into the classroom with a textbook in his hand. Han Jingjing had no choice but to find a random seat and sit down, a little depressed. Xianxia looked at Han Jingjing curiously, then at Lin Yi. She wanted to ask something, but didn't want Lin Yi to think that she was being nosy. Han Jingjing's here already? The moment Boss Bai entered the classroom, he saw Han Jingjing. He nodded to her and said, "Let me introduce her to you. This is Han Jingjing, the second female student of our medicine major. She was delayed by something before and only came to school today." Something to attend to before? Was she trying to avoid military training? Some of the students in the classroom couldn't help but think of Han Jingjing, a delicate beauty. It wasn't a big deal to run away. Therefore, after Boss Bai's introduction, there was a warm applause in the class. Obviously, these boys expressed their warm welcome to Han Jingjing. Alright, that's all for the introductions. Let's get ready for class. Boss Bai knocked on the podium and said, "Our major is special. Other majors usually don't have specialized courses in the freshman year, but ours is different. We have specialized courses from the freshman year, and they take up a large proportion. Of course, all the professional courses will be taught by me alone." Hearing Boss Bai's words, everyone was not too surprised because after the military training, the timetable was distributed by Wei Duo, and everyone knew the curriculum of the first semester of the freshman year. 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates, pure handmade TXT novels. Today was Boss Bai's first class, so he didn't go straight to the main subject. Instead, he talked about what the students in the medical major had to learn in the 4 years of university, what they had to master, and what they would achieve after they graduated from this major. However, to everyone's surprise, many core researchers of large pharmaceutical companies had graduated from Boss Bai's school, which made all the students present feel a sense of respect for Boss Bai. No wonder the seniors in their families insisted that they apply for this school. Most of the students here, except for those who loved medicinal herbs, were from families related to medicine. Their families either owned pharmaceutical factories or pharmaceutical companies, or engaged in the research and development of health products or set up traditional Chinese medicine hospitals. Therefore, they sent the children of their relatives and friends here to study. They wanted to learn some real skills so that they could contribute to their family's business when they went back. That Han Jingjing. Xianxia couldn't help but ask Lin Yi during the break. "She's my neighbor. She forced me to bring her to class this morning." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. "I think there's something wrong with her IQ. Why is she acting so dumb?" A neighbor. Xianxia felt a little sour in her heart, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. It was a very strange feeling, one that she'd never felt before. Yeah. Lin Yi was just about to say something when he saw Han Jingjing walking over. What do you want this time? Big bro Lin Yi, where's the washroom? I want to go. Han Jingjing blushed. Can't you go look for it? Lin Yi's face darkened. Why did this Han Jingjing look like she hadn't seen much of the world? Why didn't she know anything? Judging from her ability to buy a villa, she couldn't be the young miss of some big family, could she? She was the type that had everything at her fingertips. I'm afraid I'll get lost. Han Jingjing said, a little embarrassed. I'll go with you, I want to go as well, Xianxia said as she stood up. Han Jingjing's eyes flashed with disappointment, but it was gone in a flash. She nodded to Xianxia. All right, thank you, sis. It's nothing, it's on the way, Xianxia said as she brought Han Jingjing to the washroom. Xianxia actually wanted to get to know this new girl as well. They were the only two girls in the class, after all, and it'd be more convenient to have a girl with them when there were activities in the future. It'd save the awkward situation of having to change clothes during military training. Xianxia and Han Jingjing went to the washroom, but Bai Weitua came over. Big bro Lin, what's up with this Han Jingjing? Don't tell me she's a freshman too? It's nothing, I met her on the way to school. She's also a medical major, so I brought her here. Lin Yi didn't mention that he was Han Jingjing's neighborhood. There were too many people around Bai Weitua. What if they all went to his house after he told them? At that time, Miss and Shu would both be at home, and it would be difficult to explain. Therefore, Lin Yi planned to talk to Bai Weitua in private. No way, such good luck. Song Xiaodao said enviously, why can't I touch it? Now that I'm single, Lao Bai and Xing Ji both have their own targets. Better than yourself. Lin Yi was stunned and looked at Zhao Xingji. Lin Yi knew that Bai Weitua was pursuing He Mei Yue, but he didn't know why Zhao Xingji also had a target. It's Chai Xiaoling he. Zhao Xingji said with a big belly. Lin Yi looked at Zhao Xingji and thought of Chai Xiaoling's petite figure. He felt a chill run down his spine. The two of them together were truly a stark contrast. By the way, Bai Weitua, how's the preparation for the freshman party? Linist. There's basically no problem. I've talked to my classmates yesterday. I'm the main singer of our class's choir. Bai Weitua said, there's no class this afternoon. Let's start rehearsing. Chapter 1939. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1951. What should I do? That's good. Since you agreed to compete with that Zhang Duopan, you have to show your true abilities. If you lose, you won't be able to explain it to He Mei Yue. Lin Yi cared a lot about Bai Weitua, but there wasn't much Lin Yi could do to help with the performance. I know, don't worry. That Zhang Duopan clearly doesn't have any artistic cells in him. I'm confident I can beat him. Bai Weitua said confidently. But don't underestimate him. That kid is a bit devious. Lin said. He could tell from the incident in the cafeteria that Zhang Duopan was a cunning person. It wasn't long before Xianxia and Han Jingjing came back from the washroom. The two seemed to have gotten to know each other a little better, but Xianxia didn't invite Han Jingjing to sit with her. Perhaps she didn't want to ruin the peace and tranquility she had with Lin Yi in class. Xianxia was already used to sharing a table with Lin Yi, and it gave her a sense of security. It was as if everything was supposed to be like this. Xianxia didn't want anyone else to get involved and ruin the peace that they didn't know how long it would last. He heard that Zhaolong was studying for a doctorate in medicine at Donghai Industry University, and he was here to create an opportunity for him to interact with Zhaolong. If Zhaolong were to appear, this peace would be broken. At noon, Lin Yi sent a text to the miss, telling her that he was going back to Songshan to see Sun Jingyi. He wanted to see her practitioner's arts and pure qi, and compare it with the pure qi in Grandma Sun's head. The miss agreed without hesitation, but gave Lin Yi a difficult mission. She wanted Lin Yi to go back to the villa and bring her underwear from her room on the second floor. Although there were underwear for sale here, some misses were used to wearing underwear and didn't want to change. Lin Yi was speechless. He remembered that the miss didn't even let him go upstairs when he first arrived, but now. She even wanted him to bring her underwear. But when did the miss become so bold? Hadn't she always been a reserved person? While Lin Yi was puzzled, Meng Yao was about to explode. Shu, who told you to do that? Oh, Didn't Sister Yao Yao say that you're not used to the new lingerie and pajamas you bought? You want to bring all of them from Songshan's house? I saw that Shield Bro was going back, so I asked him to get it. Yu Shu said confidently. But he doesn't need to go get it. What if he sees what's in the cabinet? Meng Yao glared at Yu Shu, wanting to kick her to death. In the cupboard? What's that? Yu Shu blinked. You bought it yourself. Don't you know what it is? Meng Yao said angrily. That spinning stick you bought from the mail order, why did you have to buy it out of curiosity? Meng Yao's reminder reminded Yu Shu abruptly that there was a box in the cabinet with some imitation female products in it. Yu Shu had bought it online out of curiosity, but realized that it could damage the hymen when she bought it, so she didn't dare try it out. She'd only studied it for a while before tossing it into the cabinet, forgetting about it after that. She didn't expect Meng Yao to remember it, though. What's with us? Hurry up and text him not to take it. Meng Yao was pissed. But isn't texting us now? What if Shield Bro gets even more curious? Yu Shu said. Ooh. Meng Yao thought about it. What if she texted Lin Yi to stop him from getting the underwear? He'd probably think it'd be weird if she stopped him from getting the underwear, and he'd check it out. It'd be like she and Shu were perverts, hiding things from him on purpose. Meng Yao sighed dejectedly at the thought. Forget it, I'll let you explain tonight. Oh, it's fine, I'll explain it. Don't worry, I won't drag Yao Yao down with me. Yu Shu promised with a pat on her chest. It had nothing to do with me. Meng Yao roared, frustrated. But you studied it too, Yao Yao. You didn't object when I bought it. Yu Shu said. Then how are you going to explain it? Meng Yao didn't want to dwell on the topic. I told you I wanted to do XX with Shield Bro, but I didn't know how to do it, so I bought one to study and understand the structure, just in case. Yu Shu said. Whatever you want. Meng Yao was speechless. Yu Shu had always been tough, and it was best for her to explain. Before he left, he went back to the dorm. The box of American dollars he got from the drug dealer was still in his backpack. He was going to give it to Xiaoka. Although Fatty Lai could support Xiaoka in the construction of the orphanage by waiving some of the construction fees and material fees, the children in the orphanage still needed money. Fatty Lai couldn't provide them money endlessly. After all, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company needed a lot of money to develop. Lin Yi didn't want to waste his money. After taking the money, Lin Yi called Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi was surprised and happy when she received Lin Yi's call. Big thief, why are you calling me? I thought you forgot about me. Sun Jingyi's attitude towards Lin Yi was slowly changing. At first, she had a good impression of Lin Yi, but now she was a little moved. It wasn't until the Noble House meeting that Sun Jingyi realized how strong Lin Yi was. At first, Sun Jingyi was hesitant. She didn't know whether she liked Lin Yi or admired Lin. But after seeing Lingshan throwing herself at him, Sun Jingyi's competitive heart was touched. If she didn't grab onto such a good man, she wouldn't get another chance like this in the future. And these few days, when Sun Jingyi heard that Lingshan was going to be transferred to Donghe, she was even more worried. She cursed Lingshan for being so shameless. Lin Yi's wife just went to Shuegu, and Lingshan was already in a hurry to get the position. She couldn't let her get her way. After all, she was Lin Yi's lover. It would be easier for her to go from a lover to a wife than an outsider like Lingshan, right? Sometimes things were just so strange. Sun Jingyi went from being a little moved towards Lin Yi to suddenly occupying her whole heart. This strange phenomenon could be said to be a subtle influence. When Sun Jingyi calmed down, even she felt that it was unbelievable. Did she fall in love with Lin Yi just like that? When did it happen? When she asked him to help her deal with her business rivals? Or when she asked him to pretend to be her boyfriend to trick Wu Chention? Or when she asked him to be her boyfriend to meet her grandpa? Xiashu. Chapter 1940. Date, October 20th. Chapter 1952. The Alliance of the Strong, or was it at the Noble House meeting when Lin Yi showed off his power? Sun Jingyi didn't remember exactly when it started, but she was sure that she had fallen in love with Lin. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so impulsive when she heard that Lingshan was going to Donghe. And so, Sun Jingyi decided to discuss it with Chen Tian. The two of them would go to Donghe as well. She didn't think that Lin Yi would call before Sun Jingyi could find Chen Tian. "You're still at your old place, right? I'll come find you in a bit." Lin Yi said. "Ah, you're looking for me? Aren't you in Dongha?" Sun Jingyi paused. "Yes, but I'll be going back to Songshan later. I have something to talk to you about," Lin Yi said. "All right, see you later," Jingyi said, suppressing the joy in her heart as she hung up the phone. Sun Jingyi knew very well that Lin Yi was probably looking for her for some reason. It wasn't just because he missed her, but no matter what, Sun Jingyi was still very happy to see Lin. Lin Yi didn't waste any more time and went straight to the highway. Lin Yi had quite a few things to do in Songshan. Other than checking on Sun Jingyi's qi, he had to send money to Xiaoke, go to Songshan's Songshan First School to see Ziyu and Chen, and then he had to get the Miss underwear. 2 hours later, Lin Yi's car stopped at the food street behind Songshan's First School. A trace of confusion flashed through Lin Yi's eyes as he looked at the familiar scenery. It was as if he'd experienced a lot of things with someone important here, but what exactly they were, Lin Yi couldn't remember. Frowning, Lin Yi shook his head helplessly, got out of the car and walked towards the first high school. The guard of the first high school naturally recognized Lin. When he saw Lin Yi enter, he didn't stop him. It was after class, and there were many students on the sports field. This was such a familiar memory. Seeing the familiar sports field, the familiar teaching building, and the familiar cafeteria not far away, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh with emotion. "Student, do you know which class Ziyu and Xianxia are in?" Lin Yi asked a random student who looked like he was a freshman. "Ah, you don't know?" When the student heard Lin Yi's question, he looked at Lin Yi strangely. "Are they famous?" Lin Yi was also stunned. It was strange that he didn't know. Not very famous, but extremely famous. Ziyu and Xianxia are the prettiest girls in the first year, but Ziyu has a hot personality. Not just anyone would go after her. Only school bully Zhou Ruoming would go after her. The students started talking excitedly. But compared to Ziyu, Xianxia is more popular. She's the commoner prettiest girl in school, and she's the target of many boys' fantasies. She's here to replace the commoner prettiest girl who graduated last year. Commoner prettiest girl? Lin Yi repeated those 4 words. What a familiar name. He seemed to have heard of it before. "HM? Right, are you from our school or not? How come you don't know anything?" With that, the student looked at Lin Yi with caution. "Let me tell you, we can't even fight for the prettiest girl in our school. If you're from another school, you can pass." "I'm Ziyu's brother." Lin Yi smiled. "So you're Ziyu's brother? Then it's fine bye." The student looked at Lin Yi, a little awkward. Calling his sister a hot personality in front of Ziyu's brother was something embarrassing. "Wait, which class is Ziyu in?" Lin Yi asked. "Class 5. HM? Aren't you her brother? How come you don't know which class she's in?" The student looked at Lin Yi suspiciously. Distant relative, just visiting her on the way. With that, Lin Yi turned and walked towards the school building. Could it be some random excuse made up by Ziyu's pursuer? The student shook his head and ignored him. Ziyu and Xianxia were the prettiest girls in school, but they were too far away from normal boys like them. They couldn't be reached. Lin Yi walked into the school building with familiarity and found his classroom in no time at all. There was a group of people surrounding the classroom, and one of them was holding a bouquet of flowers, as if he was declaring his love for a girl. "Ziyu, just say yes, I'm true to you, I really am." The guy was saying mushy words of love. But Lin Yi recognized this guy. Who else could it be but Zhou Ruoming? This guy was showing his love to Ziyu. This made Lin Yi frown. He'd only been gone for a few days, and the Zhou brothers were acting like this again? Didn't he ask Zhou Ruoguang to take care of Ziyu? Why was his brother, Zhou Ruoming, harassing Ziyu himself? Did this family want to die? But from the looks of it, Zhou Ruoming didn't do anything overboard, so Lin Yi decided to wait and see. Ziyu had been really annoyed these past few days. When Zhou Ruoming wrote her love letters, she didn't even look at them before throwing them away. He asked her out to eat a few times, but she rejected all of them. Who would have thought that Zhou Ruoming would be standing in front of the classroom with a bouquet of flowers? "Zhou Ruoming, are you done? Didn't I tell you that my brother is really strong? If you keep bothering me, I'll tell him to break your 3rd leg." Ziyu put her hands on her waist and glared at Zhou Ruoming. The surrounding students were speechless. She was the hot school beauty, after all, so fierce. Breaking someone's third leg with just one sentence. Hee, my brother's really strong too. That's even better, we're a strong team. Zhou Ruoming grinned. Ziyu frowned. It seemed like this guy wasn't going to let it go if she didn't do something drastic. You know the boss of the North District, Guangbro, right? Ziyu didn't want to mention these gangsters at first, since she'd promised Lin Yi that she'd study hard. She hadn't been fighting anyone with a knife in this period of time, but she didn't expect that they'd come looking for trouble instead. Book Ocean Pavilion, she's here as soon as possible. Boss of the North District, Guangbro? Isn't that my brother? He's called Zhou Ruoguang, and I'm Zhou Ruoming. Your brother wouldn't be my brother, would he? Zhou Ruoming grinned. Could it be that Ziyu's brother was her godbrother? That was even better. Now that they were together, they'd be even closer. It wasn't that Lin Yi left, but Zhou Ruoguang didn't think that Zhou Ruoming and Ziyu would have anything to do with each other. He didn't know that Ziyu would come to Songshan's first school. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1941. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1953. Her brother is me, so Zhou Ruoguang's your brother, that's even better. But he's not good enough to be my brother. Your brother's nothing but a pug in front of my brother. Ziyu remembered how much respect Zhou Ruoguang had for Lin Yi, and she couldn't help but feel proud of herself. This was even better. Bringing up Zhou Ruoguang and having him ask around would make this guy stop bothering her. What did you say? Zhou Ruoguang's face darkened. This was a slap in the face. He didn't use force on her before because he knew that she was a hooligan, but now she was calling him a pug. Zhou Ruoguang was furious. Who the hell is your brother? I'm her brother. Lin Yi smiled and walked over. Zhou Ruoguang paused, not expecting someone to answer. He turned around and his face changed. He didn't expect it to be Lin Yi, and his legs went soft, almost falling on his butt. He thought about what Ziyu said before, that your brother's nothing but a pug in front of my bro. She wasn't wrong at all. Even his old man Zhou Tiandi was nothing in front of Hayashi Lin, let alone Zhou Ruoguang. Hayashi Lin, Ziyu's your sister? Zhou Ruoguang just realized how stupid of a thing he'd done. Of all people, he had to go after Ziyu. His target was Qin Shi, the commoner beauty, but Tang Yun, the commoner beauty, got beaten up by Lin Yi, so he was a bit traumatized. He didn't expect her to be Lin Yi's sister. Why haven't you graduated yet, kid? Can't you do something proper? You only know how to hit on girls. Lin Yi frowned. He could tell that Ziyu wasn't at a disadvantage, so Lin Yi didn't bother with Zhou Ruoguang. With a hooligan like him in school, he could at least look after Ziyu and Qin Shi. Hayashi Lin, I can't get into college, so I'll just stay here for a few more years. Zhou Ruoguang said awkwardly, I'm sorry, Hayashi Lin, I didn't know Ziyu was your sister. I wouldn't have gone after her even if I had 100 guts if I did. I'll throw this flower away. All right, you don't have to throw it away. Lin Yi snatched the flower from Zhou Ruoguang's hands. I'll give it to you then. Ziyu, this is for you. Ziyu was already very surprised to see Lin Yi, and seeing Lin Yi give her a flower, her heart skipped a beat and her face blushed. In front of outsiders, she was a hot girl, but in front of Lin Yi, she was a good girl. She took the flower and said shyly, Lin Yi bro, thank you. Zhou Ruoguang was a bit dumbfounded. Ziyu had this shy side to her? But then he remembered that Lin Yi and Ziyu didn't have the same surname. Could they be siblings? At that thought, Zhou Ruoguang's legs shivered. He really was blind, chasing two women who were Hayashi Lin's women. He was asking to die. Lin Yi bro. Qin Shi saw Lin Yi as well, but her face darkened when she saw Lin Yi giving flowers to Ziyu. She recovered quickly, and her mood was replaced with joy. Why you here? Lin Yi's senses were sharp. How could he not see the sadness in Qin Shi's eyes? She smiled and split the flowers in Ziyu's hands into two, giving one to Qin Shi. This was for you too. I was just about to ask Ziyu to give it to you. Yeah, Qin Shi, Lin Yi bro wanted to give it to you. Ziyu looked at Qin Shi teasingly as well. She knew what Qin Shi was thinking, of course. She'd been joking with her about Lin Yi a lot lately. Is that so? She was happy, but she jumped when she saw Ziyu's eyes. She was afraid that she'd say something inappropriate in front of Linny. Thank you, Linny bro, let's talk outside the classroom. It's not too good. She was a bit shy. She had puppy love in her classmates, but she was the type of girl who was more cautious. She had a crush on Lin Yi, but she didn't want people to see it. In fact, even Zhou Ruoming could tell what Shi was thinking. Zhou Ruoming sighed to himself. If he'd gone after Shi back then, he'd be in big trouble. Going after a weak girl like Shi, Zhou Ruoming wouldn't do what he did to Ziyu. He'd definitely do what he did to Tang Yun, threatening her. But if he did that, Lin Yi would probably stomp him to death. What's going on? What are you all standing at the classroom door for? A familiar voice rang out, and the students at the door dispersed immediately. Even Zhou Ruoming carefully moved to the side. What are you three standing there for? The voice rang out again, this time for Lin Yi, Ziyu, and Shi. Mr. Wang, I'm here to see my sisters. Lin Yi smiled as he greeted the owner of the voice. Lin? Jifeng's face turned a bit weird when he saw Lin. He was relieved that Lin Yi had graduated. He could finally go back to being that powerful headmaster, but now Lin Yi was back. He didn't dare pretend in front of Lin. Now that Lin Yi had graduated, he wasn't afraid of him anymore. What if Lin Yi said something about what happened before? He'd be in trouble. Therefore, Wang Jifeng immediately put on a kind smile. These two are your younger sisters. Are they from grade 5, class 5? I understand. If you need anything in the future, you can come find me anytime. Shi, Ziyu, Mr. Wang said that if you need anything, just go find him. Like if someone's chasing after you or something, Linny said with a smile. Ziyu's eyes widened. She didn't think that the headmaster would be this nice to Linny. Just who was this guy? Why was he so cocky everywhere he went? Ziyu was practically worshipping Linny now. There's no need for the headmaster to do anything. I'll take care of it for Hayashi Lin. Zhou Ruoming was worried that Lin Yi would come looking for trouble. He quickly patted his chest in front of Lin Yi. Jifeng was speechless. This Zhou Ruoming was so loyal after getting beaten up by Lin Yi a couple of times. This guy was really a softie. But then again, wasn't his weakness in Lin Yi's hands as well? Chapter 1942. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1954. In Ziyu's idea, these two could be considered the black and white sides of the school. No one would dare bully Ziyu and Xianxia in school anymore. The next class is gym, we're not going. Linny bro, bring us out for a walk, we haven't seen you in a long time. Ziyu said, skipping class right in front of the dean. It's fine. You guys go if you have something to do, I'll talk to the gym teacher. Jifeng said, wishing that Lin Yi would leave. She wasn't as smart as Ziyu, and her eyes went wide at the words of the strict dean. She couldn't believe it. But Ziyu was already holding her hand, following Lin Yi out of the school building. Ziyu, not bad, actually reaching the minimum requirement to pay for your own expenses. It seems like she's hard work this time. The first half of Lin Yi's sentence was to praise Ziyu, and Ziyu was feeling proud of herself. But the second half of Lin Yi's sentence was to praise Xianxia. This made Ziyu very depressed. It's true that it's she's work, but she tried her best too. Ziyu said, a little unhappy. Yeah, Linny bro, Ziyu really put in a lot of effort. Xianxia said. I know, I don't want her to get arrogant. Linny said. But you didn't disappoint me, Ziyu. Study hard, and you'll be able to face yourself and your brother in the future. My brother. Ziyu's face was a little down when she heard Lin Yi bring up her brother. My brother's mission isn't done yet? When will he come back? I don't know about that, some things are confidential and I can't just say it like that. Please remember. Linny said. But it'll be a long time, or your brother wouldn't have asked me to take care of you. The person my brother asked isn't bad at all. Big brother Linny, you're so awesome. Wherever you go, people seem to be afraid of you. Even that black-faced Wang Jifeng treats you kindly. You're really awesome. Ziyu had been scolded by Wang Jifeng a couple of times since school, and she naturally held a grudge against him. Seeing how nice he was to Linny today, Ziyu felt a lot better. Do you have enough money? He came to see Ziyu mainly because he wanted to ask if she had any money to spend. The school had waived her tuition, but she still needed money for her living. Fortunately, I haven't spent all the money you left me last time. I don't really need money. Ziyu wasn't the kind of girl who spent a lot of money. She usually spent money on transportation and food, and she didn't really buy clothes. Well, it's good that you know how to be thrifty, but don't waste yourself too much. This is a card with 20,000 yuan in it. If you use it sparingly, it should be enough for a semester. Lin Yi said as he handed a card to Ziyu. This was the card Lin Yi got before coming. The password is 6 zeros. This? My brother told you to give me? Ziyu didn't want to take Lin Yi's money. Yeah, your brother left me some money and told me to give it to you regularly. Lin Yi said vaguely. Oh. Ziyu didn't hold back and took the card, putting it in her pocket. How's your mom? She's fine now, right? Lin Yi didn't know why, but he thought of old Zhu again. That guy always had bad intentions, and he didn't know if he tried to harm Xianxia's mom again. Mom's better now, and she's working at that beef noodle house now. She's a part-time waitress, making 2,000 a month. Xianxia was very happy when she talked about her mom's situation. Not only was her mom better, but she could also go out and earn money. Xianxia's family's life was a lot easier now. With her mom's income, Xianxia didn't have to scavenge every day anymore. She could only go out on weekends, and it wouldn't affect her studies. Lin Yi nodded. All right, go back and study then. I'm leaving now, I'm studying at Donghe. Call me if you need anything. You're leaving? Xianxia didn't want Lin Yi to leave, but she wasn't someone who was good at expressing herself. She didn't know how to make him stay. Lin Yi bro, since you're here, don't leave so early. You didn't even treat me and she to dinner. Ziyu said coquettishly. When my brother comes back, I'll tell him how you treat us. Lin Yi smiled, but his heart tightened. Ziyu might never know that her brother was already dead, and she'd never see Armadillo again. At that thought, Lin Yi's face changed. Let's go, I'll treat you guys to dinner. What do you want to eat? I want to eat the beef noodle house Xi's mom works at, Ziyu said. I tried it once before and I thought it was a bit expensive. This time it's your treat, Lin Yi bro. Alright, let's go then. Lin Yi sighed. Ziyu was a good girl by nature, and being in that school before was actually a form of protection for herself. She wouldn't be able to survive alone in that kind of environment, and even if she did survive, she might catch the eye of some hoodlum and become their slave. After treating Ziyu and Xianxia to some noodles, Lin Yi sent them back to school, telling them to study hard before leaving. Lin Yi's heart was a bit heavy. Seeing Ziyu's happy face, Lin Yi's heart was pounding. He'd have to tell her about Armadillo sooner or later, but how was he supposed to tell her? I don't even know what to say to you. Haven't you heard that you have to fight for your own happiness? You're so quiet, can't you be a bit more proactive? How many years does it take for Lin Yi bro to come visit us? Look, you're wasting the chance, aren't you? Ziyu scolded Xianxia. Ziyu had guessed Xianxia's thoughts, and she denied it at first, but after a while, she admitted it. Liking Lin Yi wasn't something to be ashamed of, and so Ziyu started teaching her how to chase guys, but she didn't have the chance to put what she taught her into practice. Man, no, I need to do something else next time. Do you know how to flirt? Find a chance next time and trick Lin Yi bro to come to my house. Dress a bit more sexily and flirt with him, maybe it'll work. Ziyu said. Ziyu sis, what are you talking about? I don't know how to. That's so indecent. Xianxia's face got redder. Ziyu actually came up with something like this, telling her to flirt? Wasn't that something only bad girls would do? Target equals, Chapter 1943. Date, October 20th, Chapter 1955. Depressing and depressing, what's so improper about it? Haven't you heard of this saying? Women need to be able to go to the hall, cook in the kitchen, and get on the bed. Ziyu said with a serious face. You need to be noble and dignified in front of outsiders, gentle and virtuous at home, good at cooking. When you're in bed, you need to be horny. Men all like women like that. Ziyu used to be a delinquent girl, living with a bunch of men. She'd heard a lot of this stuff, and now she was teaching Xianxia. 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates, pure TT handmade. Really? Chen Shi was more innocent, but Ziyu's words made sense. But that was too embarrassing and she couldn't do it. Of course, no, I have to keep training you or you won't have a big chance. Ziyu said. Ziyu sis, can we not get on the bed? Chen Shi said bitterly. How can we do that? This is the most important thing. Ziyu said, don't worry, it's easy to learn. I'll get you some movies and you'll know when you come to my house. That's okay. Chen Shi stupidly agreed. After leaving the first high school, Lin Yi drove back to the villa area. Ever since he went to East Box, no one had come to this villa for a long time. Lin Yi opened the door of the villa and suddenly felt a sense of desolation. Lin Yi didn't delay. He went upstairs and came to the elder sister and Shu's bedroom on the second floor. This used to be Lin Yi's forbidden place, but later, everyone's relationship became harmonious. Lin Yi came up a few times, but if there was nothing important, Lin Yi still wouldn't come. See me? Opening her wardrobe, Lin Yi found a clean underwear storage box and took out the underwear and pajamas in the wardrobe one by one and put them in the storage box. Big Sister's and Shu's underwear were basically cute. Many of them were printed with cartoon patterns, but even so, it still gave people a feeling of imagination. Looking at the underwear in front of him, Lin Yi couldn't help but think of the incident at Grandma Sun's house, when Big Sister took off her clothes to take a bath. He immediately cursed the 3 Earth-rank bastards for coming at the wrong time. Burning them to death with fire poison was really letting them off easy. After packing the underwear, Lin Yi found that there was a box under the cabinet. Lin Yi didn't think much about it. He thought that it was a new underwear that hadn't been unpacked, so he picked it up. But when he held it in his hand, he was shocked. Damn, it's so big. Lin Yi looked at the huge thing in front of him and was shocked. Such a huge female masturbator, was it for Big Sister or Shu? But it doesn't seem like it. Big Sister definitely isn't this kind of person, and Shu, although her character is a bit tough, in Lin Yi's opinion, she wouldn't use such a terrifying thing. However, this appeared in Big Sister and Shu's cabinet. Other than the two of them, there really wasn't anyone else. 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates, pure TT handmade. Lin Yi was a bit hesitant. He didn't know if he should give it to them. He wanted to ask Big Sister and Shu, but Lin Yi was too embarrassed to do so. After a moment of silence, Lin Yi directly stuffed the box into the storage box. He gave it to them anyway, so they wouldn't need it anymore. Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. Perhaps Shu bought it to prank others. This girl often tricked people, so it wasn't impossible for her to buy something like this and stuff it into the bags of Zhong Pingliang and the others. After packing these things, Lin Yi put the storage box in the car's trunk. He then turned back to his room and took out a male thief mask. Lin Yi thought about it and decided to meet Yuku as the male thief. He'd helped her last time with his identity, and the girl had misunderstood him. He didn't want to go through the trouble of explaining to her. Yuku was going crazy recently. Although the construction of the orphanage was on the right track, and most of the buildings were built by Fatty Lie's company for free, she still lacked money. Yes, she lacked money very much. There was no other reason. Ling Shan had recently uncovered a criminal group that specialized in kidnapping and selling children, raising them to become beggars, entertainers, and thieves. The person in charge of this group was Njenda, but he was beaten half to a pulp by Lin Yi and was sent back to the firewolves by the professor. His underlings didn't know about this, and while they were waiting for Njenda to come back, the police came to their door and wiped out their criminal base. Although the criminals had been sent to prison, the children and street children who had been caught had become a big problem. The police released pictures of these children, and while waiting for their parents to come and claim them, they sent them to the city's orphanage. Of course, everyone knew that other than a few parents who would recognize their children and take them back, most of the children would stay in the orphanage forever. Some of the children were even sold or abandoned by their cruel parents, so why would they take them back? The orphanage suddenly had more than 200 children, and that meant more than 200 mouths. No matter how rich Yuku was, she wouldn't be able to take care of all these children. The money that Lin Yi gave her last time was basically used up, and Yuku was so anxious that she wanted to go back to her old business. In fact, The orphanage could totally reject these 200 orphans. After all, the orphanage wasn't in a good financial situation right now, and suddenly having so many children would definitely increase the burden. However, Yuku and the old director were kind people. They opened this orphanage not to make money, but completely out of love. Yuku even went to the hospital to adopt abandoned babies. Faced with so many homeless children, how could she reject them? Master, there are so many children. Food, clothes, and daily necessities. This cost is too much and we can't afford it. Why don't we borrow some money from Chairman Lai? Yuka didn't want to borrow money unless it was absolutely necessary. She didn't know why Lin Yi was so good to her. Not only did he give her a sum of money last time, but now he let Fatty Lai build some facilities for the orphanage during the factory's free time. Although most of the materials used were left over from the factory's construction, and the construction time wasn't fixed, he only helped the orphanage when his construction company was free. Although the progress was slow, the orphanage didn't have to pay a single cent. So, Yuku was a little puzzled. What was Linny doing? Since she already knew that she had someone she liked, and it was impossible for her to have anything to do with him, he still did this for another reason. But if that wasn't the case, then why? Chapter 1944. Date: October 20th. Master, your identity. Xiaoka was startled. She knew a little about her master, and if her master were to show his face in public, his life would be in danger. It's been so many years, and that incident should be over by now. Plus, I only accept missions from the thief's door, so there shouldn't be any problems, the dean said. Master, why don't I go? Xiaoka hesitated. You almost lost your life last time, and if it wasn't for the male thief protecting you, you wouldn't have made it back. The dean rejected Xiaoka's suggestion. Although you are proficient in some mechanisms and dark arts, your experience is still too little. Facing those cunning people of the same profession, how are you a match for them? Hearing the dean's words, Xiaoka couldn't help but fall into silence. It was true that during the tomb robbery, if it wasn't for the male thief protecting her, she would have become old Hayes cannon fodder. She wouldn't even know how she died. Man, if only the male thief could come with me. Xiaoka sighed. Lin Yi stood outside the dean's room quietly, listening to their conversation. He didn't think that the orphanage was still so difficult. He thought that with the money he gave them last time, and with Fatty Lai's free help, the orphanage would have a good life. Who knew that there would suddenly be 200 more orphans? This was killing Xiaoka. With Xiaoka's personality, even if she didn't eat or drink, she wouldn't let these children suffer. So, although Xiaoka was a little reckless and greedy, Lin Yi had a good impression of her. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't have thought of giving this small box of money to Xiaoka immediately. Lin Yi didn't disturb her and waited for Xiaoka outside the room. He didn't want the dean to know that he was here, and he only wanted to see Xiaoka and leave after giving her the things. Lin Yi didn't want too many people to know his identity as the male thief. This dean was a half-golden class master, and Lin Yi felt that she had some secrets. Xiaoka also said that she seemed to have a grudge against someone, so Lin Yi didn't want to have too much to do with her. After talking to the dean, Xiaoka left the room, but she didn't take 2 steps before a voice came from behind. Flying Sparrow, can I talk to you? Lin Yi suddenly appeared behind Xiaoka. Xiaoka froze, but hearing the familiar voice and the unique name, her eyes lit up with excitement. Male thief. She turned around and saw the familiar mask. Xiaoka's heart skipped a beat, and her cute face blushed. This was the person that she thought about day and night, the person that always appeared in her dreams. She didn't think that he would appear in front of her again. Didn't he say that they wouldn't meet again every time they parted? But it didn't take long for them to meet again, and it made Xiaoka very happy. It's me, but aren't you going to invite me to your room? It's not good for others to see me like this, right? Lin Yi pointed at his mask and smiled bitterly. Xiaoka couldn't see Lin Yi's bitter smile, but she could hear the awkwardness in Lin Yi's voice. She playfully said, "Then take off your mask." "Take it off? I'm afraid you'll be disappointed." "Sometimes, expectations are better than reality," Lin Yi said faintly. "If you don't want to take it off, then don't take it off. Even if you're ugly, I still like you." Xiaoka was telling the truth. She liked the male thief as a person. She didn't know what he looked like, and he always wore that stiff mask in front of her, but Xiaoka liked him just the way she liked him. "Huh, then you can treat me as an ugly monster," Lin smiled. Although Xiaoka said that, she still quickened her steps and brought Lin Yi to her room. Xiaoka was very excited. This was the second time the male thief came to find her, and this was a good start. After entering the room, Xiaoka happily made a cup of tea for Lin Yi and sat beside Lin Yi. "How come you have time to find me today? It seems like you're having a hard time, so this is for you." Lin Yi handed the small suitcase to Xiaoka. "What's this?" Xiaoka paused and took the suitcase, opening it. The moment she opened it, her eyes filled with a green light. American dollars. "So much. For me?" Yi nodded. "Wow, male thief, you're too good to me." Xiaoka hugged Lin Yi and kissed Lin Yi's mask. "I love you so much." Lin Yi was a bit speechless. This Xiaoka treated the male thief and Lin Yi completely differently. Last time when he used Lin Yi's identity to give her money, she didn't seem happy at all, and even acted like he was plotting something against her. If it was the male thief, he would have thrown himself at her. This money came from illegal sources, from a drug dealer. "You should have a way to exchange it, right?" Lin Yi reminded. "That's no problem, we're from the thief's sect. Dealing with this kind of money is no problem at all," Xiaoka said nonchalantly. $1.5 million? "Ha, that's great. It'll be enough for a long time. You can use it first. I'll send you more if I have this kind of money in the future." Lin Yi wouldn't mind cashing in again. "I'm leaving now." "You're leaving already?" Xiaoka was a bit disappointed, but when she thought about how the male thief came to give her money, she felt sweet inside. He still cared about her after all. Otherwise, why would he think of her first after robbing a drug dealer? "Right, does the thief's sect? Do you have a special channel for information? I'm looking for some rare items. Do you have a way?" Lin Yi was about to leave when he remembered something. "Of course.